You've been told that success, control, and constant effort are the keys to a fulfilling life. That if you just push harder, fight more, and plan everything perfectly, happiness will come. But if that were true, why do so many people who have it all still feel overwhelmed, burned out, and disconnected? Why do you still feel like life is slipping through your fingers, like no matter how much you try, peace is always just out of reach? The truth is, life isn't something you force into place. It's something you flow with. Buddhist wisdom teaches that true peace comes not from struggling, but from letting go. When you finally stop fighting against the current, you start to move with it. Life begins to feel lighter, easier, and even more meaningful. Tonight, as you dive into these teachings, something inside of you will shift. You'll feel the tension in your mind start to ease. The pressure to always be in control will begin to lift, and with it, your sense of calm will deepen. You'll see how life doesn't need to be forced. It needs to be embraced. And when you wake up tomorrow, you'll carry that peace with you, moving through the world with more ease, clarity, and trust than ever before. This isn't just another talk to listen to. This is a shift, a transformation waiting to happen. Are you ready to stop forcing and start flowing? Let's begin. You've spent years chasing results, trying to control every moment and force outcomes in your favor. But as time passes, it becomes clear that no matter how much you try, something always feels off. The harder you push, the more exhausted you become, and the further you feel from peace. What if, instead of constantly striving, there was a way to achieve more by doing less? What if you could step back, stop forcing, and still see life unfold with ease and success? Buddhism and Taoism, two ancient philosophies that have survived for centuries, hold the secret to this paradox. They teach us that sometimes the best way to succeed is to let go. It's about learning to act without forcing, to achieve without striving, and to flow with life instead of fighting against it. This isn't about passivity, it's about aligning yourself with the natural rhythm of life, allowing things to unfold at their own pace. Effortless action is not about doing nothing. It's about doing the right thing at the right time, without unnecessary struggle. In Taoism, this concept is called Wu Wei, the art of doing without doing. It's the idea that by aligning yourself with the flow of the universe, you can accomplish great things with little to no effort. This idea perfectly aligns with Buddhist wisdom, which also emphasizes the importance of letting go of control, of trusting that life will unfold as it should. By understanding the connection between these philosophies, you can learn how to let go and still achieve everything you desire, but with a sense of ease, grace, and peace. When you stop forcing, you create space for natural achievement to take place. The harder you push against the current, the harder it becomes to move forward. But when you trust the flow of life and stop trying to control every outcome, you begin to move effortlessly towards your goals. This doesn't mean you give up or stop working towards your dreams. It means you stop fighting against life's natural course and begin to move in harmony with it. Wu Wei teaches us that force and effort are not always necessary for success. In fact, excessive effort can sometimes be the very thing that prevents us from achieving what we want. When you try too hard, you end up creating resistance. You become trapped in a cycle of striving and overthinking, and that very resistance pushes your desires further away. When you step back, when you stop forcing things, you open yourself up to the possibility of effortless achievement. Think about water. Water flows easily and naturally, carving out paths through rock over time, without force. It moves with the contours of the land, shaping its path effortlessly. In the same way, when we let go of our need to control everything, we begin to flow through life. We align ourselves with the natural rhythm of the world, and in doing so, we begin to move towards success without all the struggle. Taoism teaches that effortless action comes from aligning yourself with the Tao. the natural order of the universe. When you're in tune with the Tao, your actions are not forced or strained. They come naturally and with ease. Everything you do is aligned with the flow of life, and because of that, success follows. It's not about trying harder, it's about being in harmony with what already is. Buddhism shares a similar philosophy, emphasizing the importance of non-attachment and acceptance. When we stop holding on to our desires and the need for control, we release resistance. This release allows us to experience life as it comes, without forcing things to fit a particular mold. Through mindfulness and letting go of attachment, we create space for things to unfold naturally, which leads to a deeper sense of peace and clarity. The concept of Wu Wei also ties into the Buddhist idea of non-resistance. Both philosophies teach that the more you resist, the more you suffer. When you fight against life's flow, you create friction that makes progress harder. But when you learn to surrender, when you stop forcing outcomes, you start to experience life with ease. It's as if you're no longer swimming against the current. You begin to trust that life knows the way, and by letting go of your need to control, you are carried towards your goals effortlessly. The real power of effortless action comes from understanding that achieving goals is not about forcing yourself to do everything perfectly. It's about being present with each moment, staying mindful of your actions, and letting things unfold as they are meant to. The more you trust the process, the more natural your actions become. This isn't about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. It's about acting with intention and allowing life to support your efforts in unexpected ways. When you let go of the need to control every step of the journey, you open yourself up to new possibilities. The universe has a way of guiding you towards what you need, even when you don't know what that is. The more you release your grip, the more you allow for unexpected opportunities to arise. In this way, you can achieve greater results without struggling or forcing. Think about moments when you've been truly present, not thinking about the past or the future, but just fully immersed in the moment. In these moments, you feel a sense of ease, a natural flow that comes without effort. This is what happens when you align yourself with the universe's flow. When you stop forcing, life begins to unfold naturally, and you are able to achieve your desires without struggle. By letting go, you also let go of the need for perfection. The more you strive for perfection, the more you close yourself off to the natural unfolding of life. Perfectionism often leads to anxiety and stress as you set unattainable standards for yourself. But when you stop forcing perfection and embrace the natural imperfections of life, you create space for peace and growth. Instead of trying to control everything, you begin to trust that everything will happen as it should in its own time. In Buddhist teachings, the practice of mindfulness plays a huge role in this process. Mindfulness allows you to step back from the constant noise of your thoughts and simply observe what is happening around you. It helps you to stop overthinking, to let go of the pressure to constantly achieve, and to become more present with what is. By practicing mindfulness, you begin to act with intention, without the need to force things into existence. This creates a sense of ease in everything you do. Another key aspect of both Wu Wei and Buddhist teachings is acceptance. Acceptance is not about giving up. It's about recognizing that there are things beyond your control. When you accept that some things cannot be forced, you create room for things to unfold as they naturally will. Acceptance brings peace because it removes the struggle. You stop fighting against the current, and instead, you allow yourself to float downstream, trusting that you will arrive at the right place at the right time. In both Taoism and Buddhism, there is a strong emphasis on detachment. Detachment doesn't mean withdrawing from life. It means letting go of the emotional attachment to specific outcomes. When you detach, you stop forcing things to happen the way you want them to. You free yourself from the anxiety of needing things to be a certain way, and you allow life to unfold without resistance. The more you practice detachment, the more you begin to see that life works best when you don't try to control everything. Success doesn't always come from your efforts alone. Often, the best things in life come when you least expect them, when you stop trying to force them. By detaching from the outcome, you allow life to surprise you with greater results than you could have ever planned for. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing to trust the process and moving forward with awareness and clarity. When you stop forcing, you become open to spontaneity, to the unexpected turns that life takes. You learn to trust that what you need will come when the time is right, without the need for excessive effort. There's also an element of patience involved in this process. When you stop forcing, you give yourself the gift of time. You stop rushing through life, pushing to achieve everything as quickly as possible. Instead, you begin to enjoy the journey. You learn to trust that everything happens in its own time. And this trust brings a deep sense of peace. Patience is not about waiting, it's about being present with each moment, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. Ultimately, the more you practice effortless action, the more you experience life as it was meant to be, full of ease, peace, and natural flow. When you stop forcing, you make room for creativity to flourish. You allow new ideas to emerge, new paths to unfold, and new possibilities to appear. By surrendering control and trusting in the process, you create a life where success, happiness, and peace come naturally. As you begin to practice letting go and embracing effortless action, you'll start to notice a profound shift in how you experience life. The struggle will fade away, and in its place will be a deep sense of calm. You'll feel more connected to the present moment, more in tune with the rhythm of life, and more open to the blessings that come your way. Wu Wei and Buddhist teachings offer a path to success without struggle, peace without resistance, and happiness without chasing. When you finally stop forcing, life will flow with ease, and the results you seek will come naturally, without all the effort you once thought was necessary. As you start to let go of your need to force outcomes, a subtle shift begins to take place. The struggle that once defined your every move begins to soften, and suddenly you find yourself facing life with a new perspective. This shift opens a door to something deeper, something more profound than simply ceasing to fight. It's the understanding that life has its own rhythm, its own flow, and when you stop resisting it, you enter a space where things begin to unfold effortlessly. This is the essence of surrendering to the flow, and it's not about giving up, it's about releasing the tight grip of control and allowing life to work with you rather than against you. At the heart of Buddhist wisdom is the concept of non-resistance, a principle that teaches us to stop pushing against life's current and instead flow with it. This is not about passivity or resignation, but about stepping into a deeper connection with the universe, trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. The more you resist, the more you create friction, and the more life feels like a battle. But when you allow yourself to surrender, to stop fighting against what is, you become aligned with a natural force greater than yourself. This is where real transformation begins. In Buddhist teachings, non-resistance is often described as acceptance. It's the practice of embracing life as it is, without judgment, without trying to change every circumstance to fit your desires. By surrendering to life's flow, you stop creating unnecessary tension and instead become open to the beauty and wisdom that each moment holds. It's a shift from fighting the present to fully participating in it, no matter what it brings. This act of surrender is not about being passive in the face of difficulty, it's about choosing not to react from a place of resistance, fear, or frustration. It's choosing to meet life's challenges with acceptance and grace, trusting that, just like the changing seasons, this too shall pass. Non-resistance allows you to meet each experience without the burden of trying to control or force it, and in doing so, you allow yourself to be present, to truly experience life. When you surrender, you begin to realize that control is an illusion. For years, You may have believed that if you could just manage every aspect of your life, your relationships, your job, your goals, you would be happy and secure. But over time, you come to see that control only breeds anxiety. It keeps you tethered to the fear of losing what you think you have, or failing at what you think you should be achieving. The truth is, life is constantly changing, and you cannot control it all. Surrendering is not about giving up on your goals, it's about giving up on your need to control every step of the process. One of the most profound aspects of non-resistance is the realization that when you stop fighting against life, you start to trust in it more deeply. It's like letting go of the reins of a horse. You allow the horse to guide you, and in return, the ride becomes smoother, more natural. You stop trying to dictate every turn, and instead, you allow the experience to unfold. The more you trust the flow of life, the more you see how everything works together in ways you could never have planned or controlled. When you surrender, you open yourself to a higher intelligence, a force that knows far better than you what's best for you. Surrendering also teaches you to accept what is beyond your control. Life brings with it pain, loss, and challenges. For most of us, our natural instinct is to resist these experiences, to wish they weren't happening, or to fight against them. But Buddhism teaches us that suffering arises from resisting reality, from wanting things to be different than they are. The more you resist what is, the more you suffer. But when you stop fighting, when you stop demanding that things be other than they are, you create space for healing and transformation. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable and accepting the moment for what it is. This doesn't mean you stop making efforts or setting intentions. It means that you stop tying your happiness to the outcome. You stop attaching yourself to a specific result. Instead, you focus on the process, the steps you take, the lessons you learn, and the experiences you gain along the way. By surrendering the need for specific results, you open yourself to the full spectrum of life's experiences. You may not always get what you want, but you'll receive exactly what you need. A key component of non-resistance is letting go of attachment. In Buddhist philosophy, attachment is seen as the root of suffering. We attach ourselves to ideas, people, outcomes, and material possessions, thinking they will bring us lasting happiness. But when these things change or disappear, as they inevitably do, we feel pain and loss. Non-resistance teaches us to hold things lightly, to enjoy them while they're here, but not to cling to them as if they are permanent. Everything in life is transient, and when we learn to release our attachment to these fleeting things, we create space for something deeper and more enduring. The process of surrendering also leads to a deeper sense of peace. When you stop resisting, you stop creating unnecessary stress and tension in your life. You begin to feel lighter, more open, and more connected to the world around you. By surrendering, you stop fighting against life's natural flow, and in doing so, you allow yourself to flow with it. This creates a profound sense of peace that can only be experienced when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. This peace is not the absence of challenges, but the acceptance of them as a part of life's journey. Another aspect of non-resistance is patience. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to become impatient with life. We want things to happen quickly, we want results now, and we want our plans to unfold as we expect. But life rarely works on our timeline. By surrendering to the flow of life, you learn to be patient not just with others, but with yourself. Patience is not waiting idly for something to happen. It's the understanding that things unfold in their own time, and you are part of that process. Patience is the space between action and result, where trust and acceptance can grow. Through surrendering to life's flow, you also begin to recognize that everything has a purpose, even the most challenging situations. Life is not random. It's filled with meaning, even when that meaning is not immediately apparent. When you stop resisting, you begin to see that everything good and bad has its place in your journey. Each experience is an opportunity for growth, learning, and self-discovery. By surrendering, you let go of the need to understand everything at once, and instead, you allow life to reveal its wisdom in due time. Surrendering is also about learning to let go of expectations. Expectations are a form of resistance. They're a mental image of how things should be, and when things don't go as planned, it leads to frustration, disappointment, and sometimes even despair. By surrendering expectations, you free yourself from the constant pressure to control the outcome. You open yourself up to the possibility of something better, something you may not have even imagined. Non-resistance is about releasing the need for life to be a certain way and trusting that whatever comes is exactly what you need at this moment. One of the most transformative aspects of surrendering to the flow of life is the awakening of wisdom. When you stop fighting, you create space for clarity and insight to emerge. Surrender allows you to see things more clearly, without the fog of desire, attachment, or resistance clouding your perception. In this clarity, you can make decisions that are in alignment with your true self, rather than decisions driven by fear or insecurity. Wisdom arises naturally when you stop fighting against life and begin to embrace it as it is. As you begin to practice non-resistance, you also learn the art of forgiveness. Holding on to grudges or past hurts is a form of resistance. It ties you to the past and keeps you from moving forward. When you surrender, you release the need to hold on to old wounds. You allow yourself to forgive, not for the sake of others, but for your own peace. Forgiveness is not about condoning hurtful behavior. It's about releasing the emotional charge and freeing yourself from the pain of the past. The act of surrendering also deepens your connection with the universe. When you stop trying to control everything, you open yourself to the guidance and support of a greater force. The universe is always in motion, always working in ways that we often cannot see. By surrendering to this greater flow, you begin to trust that everything is working together for your highest good. You stop seeing yourself as separate from the world, and instead, you become one with it. This connection brings a sense of belonging, purpose, and peace that can only be found when you stop resisting the flow of life. Ultimately, surrendering to the flow of life leads to freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from the need for control, and from the pressure of expectations. When you stop resisting, you allow yourself to experience life as it is, in all its beauty and unpredictability. This freedom is not the absence of challenges, it's the acceptance of challenges as part of the journey. When you let go of resistance, you open yourself to the fullness of life, and in that fullness, you find true peace. As you continue to explore the nature of non-resistance, you'll realize that it's not about abandoning your goals or desires, it's about finding a new way to engage with life, a way that is free from struggle. When you stop fighting against life's flow, you begin to flow with it. And in that flow, you will find that everything you need, everything you desire, is already coming to you. The key is not to force it, but to let go and trust that life will bring you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. This is the wisdom of surrendering to the flow, not as a passive retreat, but as an active engagement with life that invites peace, clarity, and wisdom into every moment. As you begin to flow with life, releasing the grip on control and surrendering to the natural rhythm of existence, a deep realization starts to emerge. It becomes clear that the pursuit of external desires, the things you think will bring you happiness, security, or fulfillment, are not the answers you've been searching for. In fact, the more you chase these desires, the more you distance yourself from the true peace that is already within you. The reality is, the relentless pursuit of external achievements and possessions often clouds your inner peace, leaving you feeling empty despite all the things you've accumulated. The idea that happiness lies in acquiring more, doing more, or becoming more is a trap that only leads to greater dissatisfaction. This is the paradox of desire. The more you chase, the further you move from contentment. But contentment isn't something to pursue, it's something that arises when you stop chasing. The constant chase for more, whether it's more wealth, status, recognition, or possessions, pulls you further away from the simplicity and peace that lie at the core of who you are. The world has a way of convincing you that you need these things to feel whole, that success or happiness are dependent on the things you own or the achievements you unlock. Yet, in the process of constantly striving for external validation, you lose sight of the most important thing: peace within. The Buddhists refer to this as the endless cycle of attachment, a cycle that keeps you bound to the desire for more, leaving you feeling unfulfilled and restless. In Buddhism, the concept of desire is seen as one of the root causes of suffering. The more you cling to the belief that happiness is something you can obtain from external sources, the more you increase your dissatisfaction. Desire creates a gap between what you have and what you think you need, constantly propelling you forward in search of something that you believe will complete you. But this external search is an illusion. The truth is, contentment doesn't come from obtaining more things, but from releasing the attachment to needing them in the first place. This is the essence of non-attachment, the Buddhist concept that teaches us to experience life fully without becoming dependent on external circumstances for our happiness. When you stop pursuing desire as a means of happiness, you begin to discover the profound peace that comes from embracing simplicity. It's in simplicity where true contentment lies. The more you accumulate, whether it's material possessions, achievements, or relationships, the more you become burdened by the need to protect, maintain, or constantly strive for something else. This burden weighs on your soul and distracts you from the peace that's always been available to you. Simplicity doesn't mean living a life devoid of ambition or desire, but it does mean that you stop attaching your sense of self-worth or happiness to the things you acquire. It's about understanding that you are complete just as you are. When you find contentment in the present moment, you stop needing things to be different than they are, and you start to realize that everything you need is already within you. The pursuit of external desires also brings with it a constant sense of restlessness. No matter how much you achieve or acquire, the mind remains restless, always searching for the next thing that promises happiness. But true contentment, as found in Buddhist teachings, comes when you stop looking outside yourself. The mind, with its endless cravings and attachments, is never satisfied because it is constantly moving toward the next object of desire. When you surrender the need to chase these desires, you allow yourself to experience a stillness that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This stillness is where contentment resides. In a world that values achievement, success, and progress, it's easy to become trapped in the belief that happiness is something to be earned. But when you begin to see through this illusion, you realize that true peace comes from being rather than doing. You stop measuring your worth based on accomplishments or possessions, and instead, you find satisfaction in the simple act of living. The joy of being alive, of breathing, of experiencing each moment fully, is more than enough. This is the fundamental teaching of Buddhism, that suffering arises from attachment to desires and the belief that they are necessary for happiness. The more you chase after external goals, the more you end up creating a sense of emptiness when you finally attain them. But when you shift your focus from desire to contentment, you start to experience life in a deeper, more meaningful way. Contentment comes from the realization that you don't need anything to be happy, because happiness is already here, in the present moment. One of the most profound ways to cultivate this sense of contentment is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, not lost in thoughts about the past or future. It's about experiencing the present moment as it is, without judgment or expectation. When you are truly present, you stop chasing after the future and let go of the past. You experience life as it is, and in that experience, you find peace. This practice helps you reconnect with the joy that exists in the simplicity of life, in the small moments that often go unnoticed when you are constantly rushing to get somewhere else. Contentment is not about denying yourself pleasure or enjoyment. It's about realizing that joy doesn't come from external sources, but from the way you relate to the world around you. When you stop seeking validation or external rewards, you begin to cultivate a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. This inner peace becomes a source of strength, something that is not dependent on circumstances or outcomes. When you stop focusing on acquiring more, you begin to appreciate what you already have. This shift in perspective allows you to experience gratitude for the present moment and for the simple pleasures in life, like the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of birds singing, or the feeling of a loved one's touch. These small moments of joy are often overlooked when you are chasing after something bigger or better. But when you practice contentment, you begin to see the abundance that is already present in your life. The more you practice contentment, the more you realize that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in peace of mind. When you let go of the need for more, you create space for a deeper connection with yourself and with others. The desire for more is often driven by a sense of lack, a belief that you are incomplete without something. But when you recognize that you are already whole, you stop chasing external things to fill the void. This recognition is liberating, as it frees you from the endless cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. Another key to contentment is embracing impermanence. Everything in life is temporary, and the more you cling to things, the more you increase your suffering. When you let go of the need to control everything or hold on to things forever, you begin to experience peace. Impermanence is a natural part of life, and when you accept it, you stop resisting the changes that come your way. This acceptance allows you to flow with life rather than fight against it, and in this flow, you find contentment. Contentment is also about being at peace with yourself. So often, we look outside ourselves for happiness, believing that the right circumstances or achievements will finally make us feel fulfilled. But true contentment comes when you stop seeking approval or validation from others. You begin to appreciate your own worth just as you are, without needing to prove anything. When you are at peace with yourself, you stop needing to chase after things to feel good enough. You recognize that you are already enough, and that is the foundation of true contentment. This journey towards contentment is not about being passive or avoiding challenges. It's about finding peace within yourself, regardless of the external circumstances. Life will always present challenges, but when you cultivate contentment, you face those challenges with a sense of inner peace, knowing that you don't need anything outside yourself to be happy. You are already whole. And in that realization, you find the greatest happiness of all, a peace that comes from within, unaffected by the constant chase for external desires. As you stop chasing after external desires and shift your focus inward, you begin to live in a way that is truly fulfilling. You stop measuring your worth by what you have or what you've accomplished, and you begin to appreciate life for what it is. Contentment becomes not just a state of mind, but a way of living, a living that is simple, peaceful, and full of joy. And in this simplicity, you find the richness of life itself. As you begin to understand the profound peace that comes from embracing contentment, you start to notice something even more powerful waiting to unfold within you: the power of stillness. In a world that constantly pushes you to do more, achieve more, and keep moving forward, there is an essential practice often overlooked: mindful inaction. The idea that inaction can be a powerful tool for peace may seem counterintuitive, but in Buddhist teachings, it's one of the most transformative practices you can adopt. When you stop chasing external desires, and even start to slow down your actions, you create a space within yourself where clarity and peace can naturally arise. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about creating a space where your mind and body are in harmony, where your thoughts and emotions don't control your every move. In this space, you are free to simply be. And in that being, you discover a profound sense of clarity that is more powerful than any action could ever bring. Buddhism teaches that the mind is often restless, constantly moving from thought to thought, worry to worry, and desire to desire. This restless state prevents us from experiencing true peace. When we embrace stillness, we quiet the mind, creating a gap where wisdom and clarity can arise. This is not a passive stillness, it's a purposeful quieting, a mindful inaction that allows us to let go of distractions and focus on the present moment. The power of mindful inaction is rooted in the concept of presence. To be fully present in each moment is to let go of the need to constantly be doing, thinking, or achieving. It's in this state of presence that you begin to notice what's truly important: the quiet space between breaths, the subtle sensations in your body, the simple beauty of being alive. In this stillness, you stop reacting to life from a place of anxiety or desire, and instead start responding with clarity, compassion, and wisdom. When you practice mindful inaction, you also practice non-attachment. You release the need to control outcomes or manipulate situations. Instead of trying to force things into being, you allow them to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean you stop taking action in the world. It means that you no longer feel the constant pressure to act out of fear, habit, or the desire to control. Instead, you take action from a place of inner stillness, clarity, and trust. You move with the flow of life rather than against it. In Buddhism, stillness is often seen as a form of meditation. Meditation isn't about forcing your mind to be quiet, it's about allowing it to settle naturally. Through the practice of meditation, you learn to become aware of your thoughts without getting caught up in them. You watch them come and go without judgment. This is the essence of mindful inaction, observing life as it is, without feeling the need to react or control. It's in this state of awareness that you begin to experience the world with greater clarity and peace. The idea of mindful inaction also ties into the Buddhist principle of non-resistance. When you stop resisting life's flow, you stop pushing against things that don't go as planned. Instead of reacting in frustration or anxiety, you accept what is happening, trusting that it's all part of a larger process. This acceptance allows you to move through life with ease, without getting tangled up in unnecessary struggles. Inaction here isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing nothing that doesn't align with your true purpose and allowing everything to unfold naturally. In a society that glorifies constant doing, mindful inaction can feel uncomfortable at first. We are conditioned to believe that if we're not doing something, we're not being productive. But what if true productivity lies not in doing more, but in doing less, and doing it with intention? Mindful inaction allows you to step back, take a deep breath, and reflect before taking action. This space of reflection gives you the clarity to make decisions with purpose, rather than reacting impulsively. Stillness in action, in the Buddhist sense, is about making decisions from a place of calm, not stress or overwhelm. When you're constantly on the go, constantly reacting, it's easy to make choices based on fear, worry, or habit. But when you create space for stillness, you allow your mind to clear, and with that clarity, your choices become more aligned with your true values. You act from a place of wisdom, not anxiety. This process of slowing down and practicing mindful inaction also helps you cultivate greater awareness of your emotions. When you're constantly on the move, emotions can build up without you even noticing. You may feel overwhelmed, stressed, or frustrated, but not fully aware of why. But when you pause, when you allow yourself to sit in stillness, you begin to notice the subtle emotions that arise within you. This awareness allows you to process your feelings rather than reacting to them impulsively. You can then choose how to respond to your emotions rather than being controlled by them. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from our attachment to the idea that life should be a certain way. We resist things that we don't want, and in doing so, we create more suffering. Stillness and mindful inaction give you the opportunity to step back from this resistance. By simply sitting with what is, without trying to change or control it, you allow yourself to accept reality as it is. This acceptance, in turn, releases the suffering that comes from resisting life's flow. As you practice stillness, you may begin to notice something profound happening inside of you. Your mind becomes less cluttered, your heart more open. You start to feel a deeper connection to the world around you, not because you're striving to make things happen, but because you're simply allowing things to be as they are. This sense of connectedness is the natural result of mindful inaction. You become attuned to life's subtleties, to the flow of energy around you, and you find peace in just being present. Mindful inaction also allows you to develop a deeper connection with your own intuition. When you're constantly busy and distracted, it's easy to lose touch with your inner wisdom. But when you practice stillness, you create the space necessary for your intuition to rise to the surface. You begin to trust that inner voice, the quiet knowing that guides you toward your true purpose. This is not a mind that is frantic or filled with noise. It is a mind at peace, listening to the wisdom that arises from within. Another important aspect of mindful inaction is its relationship to patience. We live in a culture that values speed and immediacy, but Buddhism teaches us that true change comes slowly, through continuous practice and inner growth. Patience is the foundation of mindful inaction. It's about trusting that everything will unfold in its own time and knowing that rushing through life won't bring you closer to your goals. By practicing stillness, you learn the art of patience, allowing things to unfold naturally and with purpose. As you cultivate this stillness, you begin to notice that the world around you becomes clearer. The constant noise, the endless demands of the outside world begin to fade into the background. In this space of quiet, you gain a new perspective. You start to see things with greater clarity, people, situations, and even yourself. This clarity is one of the most powerful gifts of mindful inaction. It allows you to navigate the world with calm and wisdom, no longer reacting impulsively to every situation. In Buddhism, mindful inaction is not about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with it from a place of peace and balance. It's about finding harmony between action and stillness. You can still be active, still work toward your goals, but you do so with an awareness that comes from within. You are no longer pushed by external pressures or internal anxieties. Instead, you act with intention, from a place of inner calm. In this practice, you'll also find that stillness brings about a sense of freedom. When you're constantly in motion, constantly doing, there's little space for true reflection or clarity. Your life becomes a series of reactions and responses driven by external forces. But when you practice mindful inaction, you create the freedom to choose how you respond to life, rather than being carried away by the currents of stress and distraction. You are free to be yourself, to act with purpose, and to live in alignment with your deepest values. Finally, as you continue to practice stillness and mindful inaction, you begin to realize that life itself is a form of meditation. You don't need to escape to a quiet retreat to experience peace. Peace is available to you in every moment, in every breath. By practicing mindful inaction, you step into the present moment with complete awareness, embracing life as it is, without the need to force, control, or change it. And in that acceptance, you find the peace and clarity that you've been searching for all along. Mindful inaction teaches you that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. It's in the stillness, in the silence, that you find the answers, the peace, and the wisdom that have been within you all along. As you explore the power of stillness and the profound peace that comes from mindful inaction, you may begin to notice something else that quietly influences your thoughts, actions, and feelings: the ego. It's the part of you that constantly seeks recognition, approval, and validation. The ego can be a driving force in your life, pushing you to achieve, to prove yourself, and to always be more. But what if this very force that propels you forward is the same one that keeps you trapped in a cycle of unnecessary struggle, never truly finding peace? The ego, in its endless search for validation, feeds on external recognition. It creates identities for us, roles we play, labels we wear, and expectations we constantly strive to meet. But all of this comes at a cost. Every time you attach yourself to an identity, whether it's as a successful professional, a loving parent, or even a spiritual seeker, you bind yourself to a certain set of expectations. And these expectations can be a heavy burden. The more you cling to them, the harder it becomes to feel free. The ego's struggle for validation keeps you locked in a perpetual loop, where you constantly chase something that feels just out of reach. This pursuit of external validation is one of the greatest sources of unnecessary struggle. The ego thrives on comparison and competition. It compares you to others, constantly measuring your worth based on achievements, status, and approval from the outside world. And yet, no matter how much you accomplish, the ego always asks for more. It's a cycle that never ends because the ego's hunger is insatiable. No matter how much you achieve, no matter how many accolades you receive, the ego always wants more. This keeps you trapped in a state of unfulfilled desire, believing that you will only be satisfied once you have attained a certain goal or status. But the truth is, the more you feed the ego, the more it demands. The ego constantly tells you that you are not enough, that you need to be more, do more, achieve more. This creates a tension in your life, a pressure to keep proving yourself, to keep striving, to keep winning. It makes you feel like you are constantly running a race that never ends, never giving you the chance to just be. The harder you try to meet the ego's demands, the more exhausted you become. And yet, no matter how much you accomplish, you always find yourself yearning for something more. The irony is that the more you try to prove yourself, the further you get from the truth of who you really are. The ego convinces you that your worth is tied to your accomplishments and the validation you receive from others. But in reality, your true worth has always been within you, untouched by the demands of external validation. The moment you let go of the ego's grip, you start to uncover the freedom that lies within you, the freedom to simply exist, to simply be, without the need to prove anything to anyone, including yourself. When you are attached to your identity, you are constantly identifying with roles that the world has assigned to you. These roles, whether as a parent, a spouse, a boss, or even a spiritual seeker, become so ingrained in your psyche that you begin to believe that you are these roles. The moment you identify with any external label, you create a rigid structure for yourself, one that keeps you locked in a narrow perception of who you are and what you can be. But the truth is that you are not your roles. You are not your achievements, your past successes, or your failures. You are simply a being experiencing life in its entirety, not defined by any particular identity. Letting go of the attachment to these identities doesn't mean abandoning them altogether. It simply means recognizing that you are not bound by them. You can still be a parent, a professional, or a friend, but these roles no longer define you. They are aspects of your life, not the whole of it. When you release the attachment to your identity, You start to see yourself as a whole person, not fragmented into different parts that are constantly at odds with each other. One of the most liberating aspects of releasing attachment to the ego is that it allows you to experience life as it is, without the filter of judgment or expectation. When you let go of the need to constantly prove your worth, you stop comparing yourself to others. The ego is driven by the need to be better than someone else, to be seen as successful or accomplished in the eyes of the world. But when you let go of this attachment, you no longer feel the need to measure yourself against anyone. You simply exist, as you are, with all of your flaws and imperfections. And in that space, you find true peace. The constant battle for validation is exhausting because it pulls you away from the present moment. You're constantly focused on what you should be, rather than embracing who you are right now. The ego constantly projects into the future, seeking recognition for what it can become, rather than accepting the beauty of the present moment. But true freedom comes when you release the need to constantly strive for something outside yourself and simply embrace what is. The moment you stop fighting for approval is the moment you begin to experience life in its fullest form. When you stop identifying with your ego, you also stop identifying with your fears and insecurities. The ego often thrives on fear, fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of being rejected. These fears keep you locked in a cycle of struggle, constantly trying to protect yourself from criticism, from failure, and from discomfort. But when you release attachment to these fears, you stop reacting to them. You are no longer controlled by the stories the ego tells you about who you are or who you should be. Instead, you can face life's challenges with a calm and open mind, knowing that no external validation can define your worth. The true freedom that comes from releasing attachment to the ego is liberation. Liberation from the need to constantly prove yourself, to constantly seek approval, and to constantly fight for your place in the world. When you release the ego's hold on you, you step into your own authenticity. You begin to live life on your own terms, not based on the expectations of others or the identities you've adopted. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to anyone. You live for yourself, not for external validation. And in this freedom, you discover the deep peace that has always been waiting for you. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of non-attachment not just to material things, but also to concepts and identities. The more you cling to an identity, the more you limit yourself. You become trapped in a box that the ego has created, one that keeps you bound to outdated beliefs about who you are and what you can be. But when you let go of these attachments, you open up to the endless possibilities of life. You no longer define yourself by what you do, what you have, or what others think of you. Instead, you define yourself by the simple fact that you exist, as you are, in this moment. The practice of releasing the ego is not about denying your individuality. It's about understanding that your true essence is not bound by any identity or label. The moment you release the ego's grip, you begin to experience true freedom, the freedom to be yourself, to follow your heart, and to live without the constant pressure to prove your worth to the world. This is the freedom that leads to true peace, because it comes from within, not from external validation. As you continue to let go of the attachment to the ego, you will notice a subtle shift in the way you experience the world. The need to constantly compete, compare, or seek approval fades away. You become more present in your interactions, more genuine in your relationships, and more at ease with yourself. You are no longer at war with who you are. Instead, you embrace your true self, free from the constraints of ego, and in this freedom, you find the peace you've been searching for all along. This process of releasing the ego doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to look deeply within. But as you continue to practice non-attachment and release the need to constantly validate your worth through external means, you'll find that the struggles you once faced begin to dissolve. The constant noise of the ego quiets, and in that silence, you discover a profound sense of peace and freedom that was always there, waiting to be uncovered. As you release the grip of the ego, shedding its constant demand for validation and control, you might find yourself standing at the edge of something even more transformative, the art of letting go. For years, you've been told that control is the key to success, that you must hold on tightly to your desires and the outcomes you want. But what if, in letting go, you find a freedom more powerful than any amount of control could ever offer? Buddhism teaches that non-attachment and the release of control are not signs of weakness, but pathways to true peace. We live in a world that encourages constant striving, constant managing, and constant pushing forward. The belief that we must always be in control of our lives, our surroundings, and even our thoughts can create immense pressure and stress. But Buddhism offers a radically different perspective. Letting go of the need to control opens the door to the deepest freedom you could ever experience. When you constantly seek control, you create resistance. Resistance to what is, resistance to change, resistance to the flow of life. And yet, life has a way of constantly changing, evolving, and shifting. Control, no matter how tightly you hold on, is an illusion. The truth is, life flows regardless of how hard you try to direct it. And in trying to force it in your direction, you find yourself swimming against the current, exhausted and overwhelmed. Letting go of control, however, allows you to align with that flow, to move with life rather than against it. One of the most powerful aspects of Buddhist teachings is the concept of impermanence. Everything is in a constant state of flux. The people, the situations, the thoughts, and even the emotions you hold dear are all impermanent. Holding on to the idea that things should stay the same or that you can control outcomes is one of the sources of suffering in life. When you cling to the illusion of permanence, you set yourself up for disappointment and pain. But when you embrace the fact that everything is temporary, you create space for peace and acceptance. Letting go isn't about giving up, it's about accepting what is and allowing things to unfold naturally, without forcing them into the shape you expect them to take. The act of letting go in Buddhism isn't passive resignation, it's an active practice of non-attachment. It's the ability to recognize that while you can make choices and take actions, the results are not in your control. This mindset shifts your focus from constantly needing to manipulate outcomes to simply doing your best in the present moment and letting life take its course. When you let go, you stop trying to control what happens next, and instead, you cultivate trust that the universe will deliver what is meant for you in its own time and way. This trust allows you to release anxiety about the future. Most of the stress we experience in life is tied to our obsession with outcomes. We want to know how things will turn out, and we want to be able to steer the course of our lives. But when you let go, you stop clinging to the future. You allow yourself to live in the present moment, free from the need to predict or control what happens next. This is where true peace comes from, not in the certainty of what's to come, but in the ability to surrender to the unknown and trust that life will unfold as it should. When you release your need for control, you also release the pressure to perform. The ego thrives on achievement and validation, constantly measuring its worth by what it has done, what it has accomplished, or what it has amassed. But this pursuit of external validation only leads to exhaustion and emptiness. You may achieve great things, but the sense of fulfillment is often fleeting. In Buddhism, the goal is not to perform for recognition, but to simply be to experience life without constantly striving for a goal. When you let go of the need to perform, you stop exhausting yourself in the pursuit of recognition. Instead, you start to experience life's inherent beauty and peace without attaching your worth to external achievements. Surrendering control also involves letting go of the need for perfection. Perfection is another form of attachment, a belief that things must be flawless in order to be good enough. This belief keeps you locked in a cycle of dissatisfaction and self-criticism. But when you let go of the need for perfection, you create space for acceptance. You begin to appreciate things as they are, without the constant drive to make them better. The beauty of life lies in its imperfection. By embracing imperfection, you free yourself from the pressure to always be perfect and allow yourself to experience peace, even in moments of flaw. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you stop caring about the things that matter to you. Rather, it means that you stop depending on them for your happiness or sense of self-worth. You stop clinging to relationships, accomplishments, and possessions as if they define who you are. Instead, you begin to see them as fleeting parts of your journey, not the essence of who you are. When you let go of attachment, you can still enjoy life's pleasures, but you do so without the burden of clinging to them. You can enjoy a beautiful sunset without needing it to last forever, knowing that its beauty is found in the present moment, not in its permanence. The act of letting go is also deeply intertwined with the Buddhist practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present with whatever is happening in the moment, without judgment or resistance. It's about accepting life as it is, without trying to change or manipulate it. When you practice mindfulness, you create space for letting go. You stop resisting what's happening right now, and instead open yourself up to it fully. Mindfulness allows you to be in the moment, to engage with life as it is, without the need to control or change it. Letting go also invites you to release your attachment to outcomes. In a world that constantly pushes you to focus on the end result, it can be difficult to detach from the idea that success is measured by the final achievement. But Buddhism teaches that true fulfillment comes not from the outcome, but from the process itself. When you release attachment to outcomes, you stop viewing life as a series of tasks to be completed and start embracing it as a journey to be experienced. This shift in perspective allows you to approach everything you do with more ease, without the constant pressure to get it right. In doing so, you free yourself from the anxiety of not meeting expectations, whether your own or others. As you begin to practice letting go, you'll notice a profound shift in your emotional state. No longer weighed down by the constant need for control, your emotions begin to settle. Anger, frustration, and anxiety often arise when we feel powerless over a situation. When we let go of control, we stop fighting against what we can't change. Instead of reacting emotionally to life's unpredictability, we begin to find peace in uncertainty. We accept that there are things we cannot control, and in that acceptance, we find freedom. The Buddhist principle of letting go also teaches us to embrace forgiveness. Forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, is an essential part of releasing control. Often, we hold on to past grievances or mistakes because we feel the need to control the narrative, to make things right. But when you let go of the need to control the past, you release the emotional burden of grudges, regret, and resentment. Forgiveness is not about condoning what happened, it's about releasing the need to hold on to it, allowing you to move forward with peace in your heart. Letting go is not an act of giving up, it's an act of trusting. It's trusting that things will work out even when they don't look the way you expect them to. It's trusting that life is unfolding exactly as it should, even in the face of uncertainty and hardship. When you trust the process of life, you open yourself to new possibilities that you might have missed if you were too focused on controlling every detail. Trust allows you to release the fear of the unknown and embrace the present moment, knowing that life has a way of guiding you toward what you need, even when you can't see the path ahead. The more you practice letting go, the more you'll feel a sense of peace and freedom that comes from releasing the need to control. This peace isn't passive or complacent, it's an active choice to engage with life without the pressure to manipulate or change it. It's the peace that comes from accepting what is, without resistance. The more you let go, the more you'll experience life with an open heart, free from the burdens of control, and full of trust in the journey ahead. By embracing the art of letting go, you step into a life where peace, freedom, and joy are found not in control, but in acceptance. The more you release, the more you discover the beauty and freedom of simply being, and in that simplicity, you find the deepest form of peace. As you release the need for control and embrace the power of letting go, you'll begin to see that life's constant changes are not something to fear but something to welcome. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the law of impermanence, which reminds us that everything is in a constant state of flux. The more we hold on to what we believe is permanent, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. This truth, while at first unsettling, holds the key to living with ease, even in times of great transition. In a world that constantly changes, the idea of permanence is an illusion we often cling to for comfort. We want stability, we want to hold on to what feels safe, and we resist when things shift or evolve. However, the law of impermanence teaches us that change is the only constant. This realization can be liberating, as it opens the door to flexibility and peace. When you accept that change is inevitable, you can begin to live more harmoniously with the flow of life, no longer resisting what is unfolding. In Buddhism, impermanence is often referred to as anicca, one of the three marks of existence. Anicca tells us that everything in life, whether it's our emotions, our circumstances, or our relationships, is temporary. No matter how hard we try to hold on to something, it will eventually change. When we understand that impermanence is not something to fear but a natural part of life, we are able to navigate even the most difficult transitions with grace. One of the biggest sources of stress in life comes from our attachment to things that are bound to change. We cling to jobs, relationships, possessions, and even ideas about who we are, fearing that if they change or disappear, we will lose a part of ourselves. But in the Buddhist view, it's not the change itself that causes suffering. It's our resistance to it. The more tightly we hold on, the more difficult the transition becomes. By recognizing the impermanence of all things, we free ourselves from the need to control and protect, allowing us to approach life's changes with a sense of ease. This acceptance of impermanence helps us find balance, especially in times of transition. When something in your life changes, whether it's the end of a relationship, a job change, or a loss, it can feel as though the ground beneath you is shifting. These moments of transition can feel disorienting, even painful, because we tend to resist the discomfort that change brings. But when you accept that change is natural, you begin to see these transitions not as disruptions, but as opportunities for growth. Change isn't something to be feared, it's something to be embraced as a necessary part of life's journey. Impermanence teaches us the importance of letting go at the right moment. Just as a tree sheds its leaves in the fall, we too must release what no longer serves us in order to make space for new growth. The more we cling to what is outdated or past its prime, the more we limit our potential for transformation. By recognizing that all things have their season, we allow ourselves to be present with the changing moments in our lives. This openness to change fosters a deep sense of freedom, because we are no longer burdened by the weight of holding on to things that are beyond our control. What is truly liberating about the law of impermanence is that it encourages us to be more present with what is happening right now. So often, we spend our time longing for the past or worrying about the future, forgetting that the only time we truly have is the present moment. When you understand that every moment is impermanent, you begin to appreciate the fleeting beauty of life as it unfolds. The joy of a moment doesn't come from its permanence, but from its transience. It is the very fact that a moment will pass that makes it precious. Another way the law of impermanence manifests is in the way we experience our emotions. Our feelings are constantly shifting, and no emotion, whether positive or negative, lasts forever. When we are caught up in strong emotions, whether it's grief, anger, or joy, it can feel like they define us. But when we remember that emotions are impermanent, we can allow them to move through us without getting stuck in them. Just as a wave rises and falls in the ocean, emotions come and go. By embracing the impermanence of our feelings, we can experience them fully without being overwhelmed by them. The law of impermanence also invites us to practice detachment. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means being able to engage with life fully without becoming overly attached to the outcome. It's about holding things lightly, knowing that they are temporary and will eventually change. This doesn't diminish the value of what we have. Rather, it enhances our ability to appreciate the present moment without the fear of losing it. By practicing detachment, we create the mental space to adapt and flow with whatever changes come our way, without becoming too attached to any particular outcome. In Buddhism, one of the most profound practices for embracing impermanence is mindfulness. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe life without judgment or attachment. We begin to notice the ebb and flow of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences without becoming trapped by them. Mindfulness allows us to experience change with clarity and awareness, rather than resistance and fear. When we are mindful of impermanence, we become more comfortable with uncertainty and more open to the possibilities that come with it. The realization of impermanence also brings us closer to the understanding of interdependence, the idea that all things are connected and affect each other. Just as the seasons change and influence the natural world, the events in our lives are interconnected and constantly evolving. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything is in a constant state of flux. Understanding this interdependence encourages us to approach life with more humility and compassion, knowing that our actions have an impact on the world around us, and that we are all part of a larger flow. At the heart of impermanence is the concept of letting go of the need for control. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how hard we try to control it, it will always surprise us. The more we try to hold on to a particular outcome, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment when things don't go as planned. But when we let go of the need to control, we free ourselves from the anxiety that comes with trying to manipulate the future. We start to trust that life is unfolding as it should, even when we can't see the full picture. This trust in the flow of life brings a profound sense of peace. During times of transition, whether it's a major life change, a personal loss, or an unexpected shift, we often feel like we're losing something. The law of impermanence helps us see that, in reality, we are not losing anything. We are simply moving through a period of transformation. Just as a butterfly emerges from its cocoon, we too are constantly evolving and changing. Change isn't an end, it's a new beginning. When we embrace impermanence, we stop seeing transition as a threat and start seeing it as a doorway to growth and opportunity. Embracing change is also about surrendering to the natural rhythms of life. When we fight against the changes that come our way, we exhaust ourselves in the struggle. But when we accept change, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. And in doing so, we open ourselves up to new experiences and new perspectives. The more we resist change, the more difficult it becomes to move forward. But when we accept impermanence, we find ourselves able to flow with the current, navigating life's transitions with ease and grace. As you start to internalize the law of impermanence, you'll notice that your relationship with time shifts. Rather than feeling rushed or anxious about the future, you begin to experience life as it comes, moment by moment. You start to appreciate the present for what it is, rather than longing for the past or trying to predict the future. This shift in perspective allows you to experience a greater sense of peace and contentment as you begin to understand that everything, whether joy or sorrow, is temporary and has its purpose. In letting go of our attachment to the idea of permanence, we find freedom. Freedom from the fear of loss, freedom from the pressure of controlling outcomes, and freedom from the need to hold on to things that no longer serve us. The law of impermanence teaches us that everything is in constant motion, and when we allow ourselves to move with it, we experience life with greater ease, flexibility, and openness. Ultimately, embracing impermanence is about embracing life as it is. It's about accepting the natural cycles of birth and death, growth and decay, joy and sorrow. When we let go of the desire to control, we open ourselves to the beauty of life's ever-changing nature. By embracing change, we become more adaptable, more resilient, and more at peace with the flow of life. Impermanence is not something to fear, it is the very essence of life itself. And when we accept it, we find the freedom to live fully in the present moment without the burden of clinging to what will inevitably change. As you embrace the reality of impermanence, a deeper truth begins to emerge, one that challenges everything we've been conditioned to believe about success and achievement. It's the idea that effort, while necessary in some ways, can also become an obstacle to our true potential. The more you push, the harder you try, the more you may actually limit your capacity to succeed and to experience happiness. This paradox, rooted deeply in Buddhist philosophy, uncovers a startling truth. Effort does not always lead to greater results. In fact, sometimes the harder we try, the more we block the natural flow of success. In a culture that values hard work above all else, the notion that effort could limit us might seem counterintuitive. We're taught that if we just work harder, stay busier, or push through our discomfort, we will eventually achieve our goals. But Buddhist wisdom reveals something profound about the nature of effort. It's not about doing more, but about doing less. Doing it with awareness, and doing it without attachment to the results. The harder we try to control outcomes, the more we interfere with the natural flow of life. This constant striving, often fueled by anxiety and fear of failure, can blind us to the opportunities that arise when we relax into the process of living. Buddhist teachings encourage us to detach from the results of our efforts, to let go of the need to force things into existence. When we stop grasping at outcomes, we create space for things to unfold with more ease and grace, allowing our natural potential to emerge. This doesn't mean that we stop working toward our goals, but it means we stop seeing effort as the sole measure of our success. The more we associate our self-worth with how hard we work or how much we accomplish, the more we tie our happiness to external factors that are outside of our control. We become trapped in a cycle of striving and struggling, believing that our worth is determined by the things we do, the positions we hold, and the recognition we receive. But Buddhist philosophy teaches us that true freedom and happiness come not from force, but from understanding the natural rhythm of life and allowing ourselves to move with it rather than against it. When you let go of the need to control every aspect of your life, something remarkable happens. You begin to align with the flow of the universe. This alignment allows you to accomplish more with less effort, tapping into your true potential without the pressure of pushing, forcing, or overworking. In Buddhist terms, this is the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. It's the art of allowing life to unfold in its own time, and engaging with the world in a way that is in harmony with its natural processes, rather than against them. It's not about being passive, it's about responding to life with clarity and presence, without the attachment to forcing things to happen. In contrast, the constant focus on effort often leads to burnout, frustration, and a sense of being trapped in a never-ending race. The more we push, the further we feel from the peace and contentment we desire. This is because the energy spent in resistance, whether it's resisting the pace of life or resisting our own limitations, creates more tension. When we learn to step back and trust the process, we experience a natural unfolding of events that supports us in ways we cannot predict or control. Buddhism teaches that attachment to effort and the need for constant striving often arise from a fear of not being enough. We believe that unless we constantly prove ourselves through hard work and achievement, we won't be valued or loved. This fear drives us to overexert ourselves, often at the expense of our health, happiness, and relationships. But when we release this attachment to effort, we create space for a deeper connection to ourselves and others. We start to realize that we don't have to prove our worth through accomplishments or endless busyness. Our value is inherent, not dependent on external achievements. By letting go of the pressure to work harder and harder, you free yourself to experience success on a different level. Instead of success being a direct result of effort, it becomes a natural byproduct of alignment and awareness. The more you let go of the need to force things, the more you allow your potential to flow without restriction. This approach to success is not about doing more, but about being more present, more aware, and more connected to your true nature. The challenge here is recognizing when your effort becomes an obstacle rather than an asset. Sometimes, the most effective action comes not from force, but from surrender. When you let go of the need to control the outcome and simply engage with the process with awareness, you find that you're able to accomplish more in less time, with less stress, and with greater fulfillment. This is because you are no longer burdened by the weight of expectation, and you're no longer trapped in the cycle of striving for something you think you need. Instead, you allow yourself to be guided by the flow of life, which leads you toward the right opportunities at the right time. The paradox of effort is that by doing less, you can achieve more. This doesn't mean that you stop putting in the necessary work, but that you shift your approach. When you stop overthinking, stop micromanaging every detail, and stop trying to force every outcome, you start to see the natural course of events unfold. You allow things to happen rather than trying to make them happen. Buddhism teaches that attachment to results creates suffering. When you become overly focused on the end goal, you lose sight of the beauty and wisdom that exists in the journey. Life is not just about reaching a destination, it's about the experience of being fully present along the way. When you are constantly focused on effort and results, you miss the lessons, the growth, and the joy that come from simply living each moment. The mental strain that comes from overexerting yourself in the pursuit of achievement also creates inner tension. This tension blocks your natural flow and prevents you from tapping into your true potential. When you learn to let go of the obsession with effort and outcomes, you release this inner tension and allow your creativity, your intuition, and your natural abilities to shine. Success becomes a natural result of your ability to stay present and aligned with your inner wisdom, rather than a product of intense effort or struggle. This principle of letting go of unnecessary effort is reflected in the Buddhist practice of meditation. Meditation is not about trying to achieve a specific state of mind or force a particular outcome. It's about being present with whatever arises, without striving to change it or control it. This practice teaches us that when we stop trying so hard to control our thoughts or emotions, we create space for them to naturally settle on their own. The same principle applies to our external lives. When we stop trying to control everything around us, we make space for things to fall into place naturally. The idea that effortless action leads to success and happiness is a deeply liberating concept. It's a reminder that we don't have to exhaust ourselves in the pursuit of external goals. Instead, we can allow life to unfold in its own time, while still taking meaningful actions toward our dreams. When we shift our focus from constant effort to presence and awareness, we unlock our true potential because we're no longer bound by the belief that success must come through struggle. When you release the need to constantly work harder and push through obstacles, you open yourself to a greater sense of freedom. This freedom comes from the understanding that you don't need to control every detail of your life in order to experience success. You no longer define yourself by the amount of effort you put in, but by the quality of your engagement with the present moment. This is the essence of Buddhist teachings on effort. Success arises not from endless striving, but from living in alignment with your true self, free from the pressure of constant doing. As you begin to let go of the constant need to force outcomes and control every aspect of your life, a deeper understanding begins to unfold. The more you release, the more you realize that one of the greatest keys to ease and freedom is patience. Patience is often seen as waiting without action, but in the context of Buddhist teachings, it's far more profound than simply biding time. It's a skill, a powerful tool that transforms stress and anxiety into calm and clarity. In our fast-paced world, patience is often viewed as something passive, a waiting game until things happen. But the truth is, patience is an active practice that invites us to engage fully with the present moment without the urge to rush or force things into existence. It's about understanding that everything in life has its own pace, and that resisting this natural flow leads only to frustration, anxiety, and stress. Patience helps us trust in the process of life, and in doing so, it reduces the mental noise that constantly pushes us to hurry up and get somewhere. Buddhism teaches us that patience is not merely about waiting, it's about cultivating a mindset that accepts things as they are, knowing that everything unfolds in its own time. When we practice patience, we stop trying to force outcomes or control how things will unfold. Instead, we start to understand that life is not a race, but a journey, one that needs to be experienced fully, without the burden of pressure or expectation. At the heart of patience is non-attachment. When we are attached to specific outcomes, we create stress and anxiety because we want things to happen now. But patience teaches us to release this attachment and trust that things will unfold as they should, even if we don't see the results immediately. Patience allows us to focus on the process rather than the destination, letting go of the pressure to control every step along the way. By doing so, we reduce the inner struggle that often comes with needing things to happen on our timeline. In Buddhism, one of the most powerful teachings is the idea that impatience creates suffering. When we are impatient, we are fighting against the natural flow of life. We push ourselves, we rush, and we force things to happen, all in an attempt to control the outcome. But this constant striving creates stress and tension in our bodies and minds. The more we fight against the flow, the more resistance we create, and the more suffering we experience. Patience, on the other hand, allows us to surrender to life's rhythm, to accept that not everything happens according to our plans or expectations. It helps us move through challenges with ease, knowing that things are unfolding in their own time. In daily life, practicing patience involves learning how to deal with delays, frustrations, and obstacles with grace and acceptance. It means being able to sit with discomfort without the need to immediately fix it or push through it. This can apply to small, everyday situations, waiting in line, dealing with traffic, or even waiting for a text response. These seemingly trivial moments are opportunities to cultivate patience. Each moment of waiting is an invitation to practice acceptance, to release the urge to rush, and to find peace in the present moment, even in the midst of what may feel like inconvenience or delay. When we cultivate patience, we also begin to shift our relationship with stress. In our culture, stress is often seen as a necessary part of life, the result of a busy schedule, high expectations, and the need to constantly perform. But when we practice patience, we learn to take a step back and observe our reactions to stress. We begin to see that stress is often a result of our resistance to what is. Patience allows us to stop fighting against the discomfort and to embrace the present moment, even when it's not ideal. In doing so, we reduce the mental tension that fuels stress, allowing us to move through difficult situations with more ease and clarity. Patience helps us cultivate resilience. Life is full of challenges, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. The way we respond to these challenges often determines how much we suffer. When we are impatient, we tend to react impulsively, either by forcing things to happen or by withdrawing into frustration or despair. But patience teaches us to respond with wisdom and understanding. It allows us to weather storms without being overwhelmed, to stay grounded in our center even when the world around us feels chaotic. By practicing patience, we learn to resist the urge to react impulsively, instead choosing to respond with calm and thoughtfulness. Another important aspect of patience is its relationship to self-compassion. When we are impatient with ourselves, we create unnecessary pressure, we demand perfection, we rush through tasks, and we berate ourselves when things don't go as planned. But when we practice patience, we learn to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. We give ourselves the space to grow, to make mistakes, and to learn at our own pace. This shift in mindset reduces self-criticism and allows us to move through challenges without feeling burdened by guilt or shame. Self-compassion is an essential component of patience because it allows us to be gentle with ourselves, even when we fail to meet our expectations. In Buddhist practice, meditation is a tool that helps cultivate patience. When we sit in stillness, we practice the art of being present with our thoughts and emotions, without the need to change or control them. Meditation teaches us that our thoughts are impermanent. They come and go on their own, without our interference. The more we resist our thoughts or push them away, the stronger they become. But through the practice of meditation, we learn to observe them without attachment or judgment. This observation, this patience with our own mental processes, gradually transforms how we interact with the world around us. Patience also plays a crucial role in personal growth. We live in a world that encourages us to constantly improve and to be better versions of ourselves. But the journey of self-development is not a race. True growth comes not from pushing ourselves to meet external standards, but from understanding and accepting our natural rhythms and limitations. Patience helps us honor where we are on our journey, without rushing toward an idealized version of ourselves. It allows us to embrace imperfection and to grow at our own pace, without feeling the pressure to be someone else or to meet someone else's expectations. At a deeper level, patience helps us cultivate a sense of trust in life itself. Life unfolds according to its own rhythms, and often our attempts to control the timing of events only cause unnecessary stress. But when we practice patience, we trust that everything is unfolding as it should, even when it doesn't align with our expectations. Trusting in the timing of life, rather than forcing things to happen when we want them to, allows us to move through life with greater ease and less resistance. It invites a sense of peace, because we no longer feel the need to control every moment or outcome. When we stop rushing and forcing, we begin to experience joy in the process. It's easy to become so focused on the end result that we miss the beauty of the journey itself. Patience allows us to slow down and appreciate each step, each moment, for what it is. This shift in perspective brings greater satisfaction because it encourages us to enjoy life, not just to achieve goals. Patience helps us appreciate the simple pleasures that come with being present in the moment, whether it's enjoying a quiet cup of tea, taking a walk, or having an open conversation with a loved one. In the face of external pressure, practicing patience also helps us stay centered and calm. Life will always bring unexpected events, challenges, and transitions, but when we respond with patience, we protect ourselves from being swept away by the emotional waves of life. Instead of reacting in fear, anger, or frustration, we can pause, breathe, and respond with clarity. This doesn't mean we become passive. It means we develop the wisdom to know when to act and when to wait, trusting that both are necessary for growth and peace. When we cultivate patience, we also become more compassionate toward others. Impatience often leads to frustration, which can cause us to lash out or judge others. But when we practice patience, we become more understanding and tolerant, recognizing that everyone is moving at their own pace. This creates a more harmonious connection with others, as we are less focused on demanding things from them and more open to meeting them where they are. Ultimately, patience teaches us that peace comes from within. When we stop rushing through life and release the pressure to achieve, we find that true happiness is not something we have to chase. It's a state of being, a natural outcome of accepting life as it is. Patience allows us to live in alignment with our true selves, free from the need for external validation or approval. It is through patience that we transform stress into ease, anxiety into calm, and struggle into peace. By cultivating patience, we unlock the freedom to move through life with grace and wisdom, embracing each moment as it comes and trusting that it is enough. As you continue to embrace the power of patience, letting go of the constant need to control and force outcomes, a deeper understanding begins to emerge. Life is not a game of sheer effort and willpower. Instead, it is a delicate balance of intention, action, and letting go. The concept of karma, which teaches us that every action has a ripple effect, shines a light on how overexertion can often lead to unintended consequences. In Buddhism, karma is not just about actions, but also about intentions. Effort, when aligned with peaceful intentions, flows naturally toward positive results, but excessive effort or forceful actions often create unnecessary friction, causing outcomes that do not align with our true desires. The idea that too much effort can be counterproductive may seem surprising. After all, we are often told that the key to success is hard work. Yet, Buddhism reveals a deeper truth. Karma teaches us that when our actions are motivated by attachment, fear, or impatience, the energy behind our actions creates karmic ripples that can result in frustration, burnout, and outcomes that feel disconnected from what we truly want. In other words, the more we force or push for something, the more we risk creating karmic consequences that are not aligned with our inner desires or the greater flow of life. When you act from a place of peaceful intention rather than force, the energy you put into the world is different. It is less about striving for a particular outcome and more about being present, offering what you can, and trusting that the right results will unfold in their own time. Karma operates not only through actions, but also through the energy and motivation behind those actions. When our intentions are pure, not driven by the ego or the need for external validation, the results are more likely to be harmonious and aligned with our true path. However, when we are driven by stress, competition, or the belief that we must work harder to earn our worth, we create friction energy that ultimately leads to outcomes that feel misaligned, no matter how hard we push. Buddhism emphasizes that peaceful intentions are the foundation of creating positive karma. When your actions come from a place of calm, clarity, and compassion, the energy behind those actions supports a peaceful flow of results. But when you are overly attached to the outcome, when you push excessively or expect immediate results, you block that flow and risk creating negative karma. Effortless effort, or Wu Wei, as it is called in Taoism, is about letting go of the need for control and trusting the natural course of events. This approach not only brings peace, but also leads to outcomes that are in harmony with your true desires and the greater good of all involved. It's easy to get caught up in the belief that success only comes with intense, unrelenting effort. This belief stems from a deeply ingrained cultural conditioning that equates success with struggle. But in the Buddhist tradition, effort is seen as a tool, not a force that drives us. When we use effort in alignment with the natural flow of life, when we are mindful of our intentions and actions, it leads to smoother paths and clearer outcomes. Excessive effort, on the other hand, often creates confusion and detours. The more we try to push or manipulate life to meet our desires, the further we move away from true fulfillment. It's a paradox. The more we force, the less we achieve the results we hope for. By releasing attachment to specific outcomes, we allow life to unfold naturally, which often leads to the best result. Another key aspect of karma in relation to effort is the idea of non-attachment. When you are too attached to an outcome, you are more likely to use force in order to make things happen. But the act of attachment itself creates tension. Attachment is born from the belief that something is lacking or missing, which pushes us to overexert ourselves in order to attain it. But in the Buddhist view, attachment leads to suffering. When we release attachment, we stop forcing life's circumstances into a specific mold, and instead, we align ourselves with the natural unfolding of events. This non-attachment allows us to experience life with less tension and more ease, creating positive karma along the way. It's important to recognize that karma is not just about actions, but about motivation. When we act out of genuine care, love, or compassion, the energy behind our actions is far more aligned with the universe's flow than when we act out of fear, greed, or ego. For example, if you are working towards a goal purely because of external validation or to prove your worth to others, the karma created from that effort will be tinged with the negativity of attachment and desire. However, if your efforts are motivated by a sense of compassion or a desire to bring about good for others, even if the outcome is uncertain, your actions create positive karma, which leads to better results without the pressure or strain. One of the most insightful lessons from Buddhism about karma and effort is the understanding of timing. There is a natural rhythm to life, a timing that unfolds in ways we cannot always predict or control. When we are overly focused on forcing outcomes, we fail to recognize the right timing of events. Patience, coupled with peaceful intention, allows us to align with the natural rhythms of life. When we trust the process and stop pushing against the natural flow, we start to recognize the right moments for action and the right moments for stillness. This awareness of timing helps us avoid overexertion and unnecessary struggle. Buddhism also teaches that mindfulness is key to understanding the relationship between effort and karma. By practicing mindfulness, we become more aware of the motivation behind our actions. Are we acting because we feel the need to prove ourselves? Are we pushing harder than necessary out of fear or competition? Or are we acting from a place of clarity, patience, and genuine desire to contribute positively? Through mindfulness, we become more conscious of the energy we are putting into the world, and we begin to see how our intentions shape our experiences. When we act with mindfulness, we not only reduce stress and overexertion, but also create positive karma that flows toward natural and beneficial outcomes. Peaceful intentions are also deeply connected to the concept of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean inaction or resignation. It means letting go of the need to control the outcome and trusting that things will unfold as they are meant to. The more we cling to a specific outcome, the more we push against the current of life. But when we surrender to the process, we trust that our efforts, however small or large, will have their place in the grand scheme of things. This surrender is an act of faith, faith in life, faith in our actions, and faith that the universe will guide us toward the best possible outcomes without the need for force. This connection between karma and effort also helps us understand how overexertion can lead to unwanted outcomes. The idea that more effort equals better results is rooted in the belief that we can control everything. But this belief is a trap. The harder we try to push against life, the more resistance we create, and the more we block the natural flow of success. By overexerting ourselves, we may actually prevent the results we are seeking, as the energy we put out is met with resistance rather than alignment. In contrast, When we act with peaceful intention, we trust that our actions will bear fruit at the right time and in the right way, without the need for excessive force. Ultimately, the relationship between karma and effort reveals a deeper understanding of how to live in harmony with life. The key is to release the attachment to results and stop forcing outcomes. Effort is not about working harder or longer. It's about working with awareness and mindfulness, letting go of the need to control and trusting that our actions, rooted in peaceful intention, will lead to the best possible results. When we act with clarity and trust, we begin to experience a life of ease and flow, where the karma we create is aligned with our true desires, and where success comes naturally, without the struggle. This approach doesn't just create good karma, it allows us to live a life of freedom, peace, and fulfillment, rooted in the understanding that effort, when balanced with mindfulness and trust, is the key to unlocking our natural potential. As you begin to recognize how overexertion can hinder your path to success, you're presented with a powerful truth: life has its own timing and rhythm. The more you push against it, the more you create tension and resistance. However, when you let go of the need to force and control, something incredible happens: trust. Trust is the quiet force that allows everything to fall into place with ease. Trust in life's unfolding is a practice rooted in Buddhist wisdom, and it holds the key to unlocking miracles without the weight of constant struggle. In Buddhism, trust is not about blind faith. It is a deep knowing that life, with all its unpredictable twists and turns, is inherently moving toward harmony. This type of trust is about surrendering control and allowing the natural flow of the universe to work through you. It's about realizing that you don't have to have everything figured out, and that in surrendering to life's process, you create space for things to unfold in ways that are often better than you could have ever planned or imagined. When you trust in the process of life, you stop clinging to the need to control every aspect of your experience. Instead, you step back, become present, and allow life to take its course. It's about trusting that everything happening is part of a greater design, even if you can't see the full picture at the moment. The more you trust, the less you interfere with life's natural flow, and the more you allow synchronicity to guide you. The key is to remember that life is always unfolding, even in the moments when things don't seem to be going the way you want them to. At its core, the power of trust is the ability to step into the unknown without fear. Trust is about knowing that life is a journey, not a destination, and that every experience, every moment, is leading you toward your growth. When you stop trying to control every outcome, you create a space where the right opportunities, people, and circumstances can come into your life naturally. It's as if the universe is working on your behalf, but only if you allow it to, without the constant interference of your own anxiety or doubt. One of the most significant aspects of trust is that it allows us to stop worrying about the future. Worry is a form of control, a way of mentally preparing for outcomes that may never happen. But the more you trust that life is unfolding exactly as it should, the more you let go of the need to micromanage every moment. Trust gives you the ability to let go of the mental chatter that keeps you constantly anticipating what's next. The more you trust, the more you experience peace in the present moment, fully engaged with what's happening right now instead of what could happen in the future. Buddhist wisdom teaches that attachment to outcomes is a major source of suffering. We often think that in order to be happy, things must happen in a particular way. We expect things to unfold in a manner that aligns with our desires. But when reality doesn't meet our expectations, we experience frustration. But when we trust in the process of life, we let go of these fixed expectations. We learn to embrace life as it comes, with all its imperfections and surprises. Trust allows us to let go of the need for specific results and simply engage with life as it is, knowing that everything is in constant motion and that this too shall pass. Trust in the process also means embracing uncertainty. Uncertainty is uncomfortable for most people, but the more you trust life, the less you feel the need to control every outcome. You stop holding on to the idea that you need to know exactly how things will turn out. Instead, you learn to be open to the unknown, understanding that some of the best outcomes arise from unexpected circumstances. The more you allow yourself to be comfortable with uncertainty, the more you experience life's flow in its truest sense. You are no longer caught in the grip of needing to have a plan for every moment. Instead, you trust that you will be guided, step by step, without needing to know the full path in advance. The act of trusting life's process also ties directly into patience. Patience isn't about waiting passively for things to happen. It's about engaging with life without the need to rush or force. When you trust in the timing of life, you develop patience not just with external circumstances, but with yourself. You stop rushing through life, trying to achieve more, faster, and better. Instead, you allow each moment to unfold as it should, knowing that everything has its own pace. Trust and patience go hand in hand, because trusting the process allows you to be patient with the way things unfold, even when it takes longer than you expected. Trust also cultivates resilience. Life inevitably brings challenges, obstacles, and discomfort. But when you trust that these experiences are part of the journey, you are better equipped to handle them. Trust allows you to meet difficulties with a sense of acceptance, knowing that they are temporary and will eventually pass. Instead of being overwhelmed by hardship, you recognize that each challenge offers an opportunity for growth. Trusting in the process allows you to embrace adversity without fear, because you understand that every experience, both good and bad, is contributing to your personal evolution. Through trust, we also unlock the power of intuition. The more we release the need to control and force outcomes, the more we create the mental clarity needed to listen to our inner wisdom. Trusting life allows us to tap into our intuition, that quiet voice within that knows what is right for us. When we're constantly trying to control everything around us, we drown out this inner voice. But when we trust the process, we create space for intuition to guide us, showing us the way forward without force. One of the most beautiful aspects of trust is that it helps you connect with others in a more authentic and meaningful way. When we trust the process of life, we also trust the people we encounter along the way. We stop seeing them as obstacles to our success and begin to see them as partners in the journey. Trust allows us to engage with others without the fear of manipulation or control. We are no longer trying to control how people behave or what they think of us. Instead, we allow our relationships to unfold naturally, guided by mutual respect and understanding. In the Buddhist tradition, trust in the process of life is deeply connected to non-attachment to self. When we are attached to a specific identity or outcome, we constantly feel the need to control how others perceive us, how we perform, and how our lives unfold. But trust in life allows us to let go of this attachment, to stop seeing ourselves as rigid, fixed identities, and instead to flow with the natural unfolding of life. We understand that we are not defined by our past, our achievements, or our roles, and that we are free to evolve as life presents new challenges and opportunities. Trust also enhances our ability to forgive both others and ourselves. When we trust the process, we let go of the need for everything to be fair or right. We begin to understand that life unfolds in ways that we cannot always control, and that holding on to grudges or resentment only creates suffering. Trust allows us to forgive, not because we condone the actions of others, but because we trust that life's journey has its own lessons for everyone involved. Letting go of the need for justice or revenge frees us from the weight of anger and resentment, allowing us to experience peace. In a practical sense, Trust helps us make decisions with clarity and confidence. When we trust life's unfolding, we no longer feel the need to obsess over every decision or worry about making the wrong choice. Trust gives us the ability to make decisions from a place of calmness, not fear. We understand that there is no such thing as a perfect decision, only decisions that align with our values and our current understanding of the world. Trust allows us to move forward without regret, knowing that life is constantly evolving, and every step we take is part of the process. When we truly trust life, we also understand that everything is interconnected. Our actions, thoughts, and intentions ripple out into the world and affect others in ways we may not always understand. Trust in life is the recognition that we are part of something larger than ourselves, and that the universe has a way of guiding us toward what we need. This interconnectedness is not something to control, but something to embrace. It teaches us to act with kindness, compassion, and understanding, knowing that everything we do contributes to the greater whole. Ultimately, trust in life allows us to experience freedom. It's the freedom from fear, from the need to control, and from the pressure to achieve. It's the freedom to live fully in the present, to engage with life without the weight of expectation. Trust is not passive. It's a dynamic engagement with life that allows us to move through challenges, uncertainties, and transitions with grace and ease. When we trust the process, we find that everything falls into place, not because we forced it, but because we allowed it to unfold naturally. As you begin to trust the flow of life and release the need to control every outcome, you may notice a subtle shift within yourself, a deeper connection to the present moment. In our culture, we are often caught in a whirlwind of worries about the past and future, leaving little space for peace. But when you slow down, take a deep breath, and center yourself in the present, you realize that everything you need is right here, right now. This simple act of focusing on your breath brings you back to your center and helps you release the strain of trying to control the uncontrollable. In Buddhist philosophy, being fully present is a key element in cultivating peace, and the breath serves as an anchor for that practice. When you focus on your breath, you bring your mind's attention away from distractions and back to the only moment that truly exists, the present. This practice of deep breathing and mindfulness helps us to step out of the constant noise of our thoughts and reconnect with the body, the senses, and the flow of life as it is unfolding in real time. The breath is a tool that is always available to us, yet we often overlook its power. The simple act of breathing deeply can immediately shift your mental state, reducing stress, calming anxiety, and alleviating tension. It doesn't require any special skill or equipment, just the ability to focus on something as natural and essential as your own breath. As you inhale and exhale, you reconnect with the rhythm of life itself. And in doing so, you release the need to control. You let go of the mental chatter that tells you to hurry, to worry, and to force. The more you breathe consciously, the more you create space for peace to settle into your being. The practice of mindfulness is intertwined with the breath. In Buddhism, mindfulness is the art of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. This is especially important in a world that is constantly pulling our attention in 1,000 directions. When you bring your focus to your breath, you are practicing mindfulness, gently guiding your awareness back to the here and now, where everything unfolds in its own time. By focusing on the breath, you step out of the past or future and into the only time that is real. In doing so, you naturally relieve strain and stress. The breath is not just a physical act, it also has a profound impact on our nervous system and emotional state. When we are stressed or anxious, our breathing becomes shallow, which creates a cycle of tension in both the body and mind. By consciously deepening your breath, you break that cycle. As you inhale deeply and exhale slowly, your nervous system shifts from a state of fight or flight to a state of rest and relaxation. This simple shift in the way you breathe can instantly reduce stress, lower your heart rate, and bring clarity to your mind. Breathing deeply is also a reminder that you are alive, here, and present in this moment. Every breath is an affirmation of life. When we become aware of our breath, we are reminded that we don't need to do anything to earn our existence. We don't need to struggle or force. Simply being present is enough. This realization is liberating. It allows us to let go of the constant striving for something more and to appreciate the inherent peace that exists in just being. Through the breath, we reconnect with the simplicity of life. And in that simplicity, we find freedom from the pressure to control. The breath also has the ability to bring us into a state of balance. When we are caught in our thoughts, especially during times of stress, we tend to lose touch with the present moment. Our bodies and minds become disconnected, and we start to feel overwhelmed. But by focusing on the breath, we restore balance between mind and body. The rhythmic rise and fall of each breath is a natural process that helps center us, bringing clarity and calmness. The more we practice this, the more we become aware of how closely our thoughts and emotions are tied to our physical state. By cultivating awareness of our breath, we strengthen our ability to respond to life with calmness and perspective, rather than reacting out of anxiety or tension. The act of mindful breathing encourages acceptance. Acceptance of the present moment as it is. Often, the strain in our lives comes from resisting what is happening right now, wishing things were different, or worrying about what may come next. The breath invites us to pause and accept the flow of life, just as it is. Each breath reminds us that life moves in cycles, and just as we inhale and exhale, so too do the events of our lives ebb and flow. When we let go of resistance and accept the present moment, we allow life to unfold without the need for force or struggle. This acceptance fosters peace and reduces the emotional strain of trying to make things fit into a specific narrative. One of the most powerful aspects of focusing on the breath is its ability to bring us into a state of non-reactivity. When we are caught up in our thoughts, it's easy to become reactive, quick to judge, blame, or criticize. But by focusing on the breath, we can pause before reacting. We create a space between stimulus and response, allowing us to respond with greater awareness rather than with impulse. This practice of non-reactivity is crucial in breaking the cycle of habitual, automatic responses that often lead to stress or conflict. By returning to the breath, we can choose how we engage with the world, rather than reacting from a place of unconscious habit. Breathing mindfully also helps us to become aware of the temporary nature of everything. Just as each breath is a fleeting moment, so too are our thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. When we are caught in moments of difficulty or discomfort, it can feel as though those moments will last forever. But by focusing on the breath, we remember that nothing is permanent. Every inhalation and exhalation reminds us that all experiences, whether joyful or painful, are transient. This understanding helps us to navigate life's challenges with greater ease, knowing that they will pass, just as our breath flows in and out. Mindful breathing also has a grounding effect. It helps us stay anchored in the present, even when external circumstances or internal turmoil threaten to pull us in many directions. The breath is always with us. It's a constant, unchanging presence that connects us to the here and now. Whenever we feel overwhelmed, disconnected, or lost, we can always return to our breath as an anchor. This grounding quality of the breath helps us stay centered, calm, and balanced in the face of uncertainty or stress. As you deepen your awareness of the breath, you also begin to cultivate patience with yourself and others. In today's world, we are often taught to be impatient, always looking for quicker solutions, faster results, and immediate gratification. But the practice of mindful breathing teaches us to slow down and appreciate the process of life. It reminds us that things take time to unfold, and that we don't need to rush to the finish line. When we practice patience through the breath, we begin to extend that same patience to the world around us. We stop demanding instant results from others, and instead, we allow them the space to unfold naturally, just as we allow our own breath to come and go without force. Focusing on the breath also brings our attention back to self-care. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to forget to take care of ourselves. But the breath serves as a reminder to pause and check in with our bodies. Are we holding tension in our shoulders? Are we breathing shallowly because of stress? By taking a moment to focus on our breath, we reconnect with our bodies and become more aware of where we are holding stress or discomfort. This awareness enables us to release tension and find relief, allowing us to care for ourselves physically, emotionally, and mentally. As you continue to practice deep breathing and mindfulness, you'll notice that the mental clutter that often fills your mind starts to clear. The constant noise of thoughts, worries, and distractions gradually fades as your focus shifts to the present moment. In this space of mental clarity, you are able to see things more clearly, make decisions with more wisdom, and engage with life in a more meaningful way. The breath is a tool that helps you not only release stress but also gain insight and perspective. Finally, by making breath awareness a regular practice, you begin to develop a deeper connection to yourself and the world around you. You start to realize that the breath is not just a biological function, but a spiritual one that connects you to the rhythm of life. Every inhale is a reminder of the life force that flows through you, and every exhale is a release of what no longer serves you. This dance between inhale and exhale mirrors the dance of life itself, where we come into being and gradually let go of what we no longer need. By aligning ourselves with this natural flow, we can navigate life with more ease, less strain, and more peace. As you continue to explore the peace that comes from focusing on the breath, surrendering control, and trusting life's natural rhythm, you may begin to notice a powerful shift in how you experience the world around you. Life's constant ups and downs, the contrasts between joy and sorrow, success and failure, are inevitable. But what if, instead of fighting against them, you embrace them as part of the natural order? This is one of the most profound teachings in Buddhism, the wisdom that tells us to look beyond the dualities of life and embrace its contrasts without resistance. We live in a world that thrives on categorization, labeling everything as either good or bad, positive or negative, success or failure. But this dualistic thinking limits us and creates unnecessary suffering. We constantly strive to keep everything in the good column while pushing away what we perceive as bad. In doing so, we find ourselves constantly in a battle against our circumstances, our emotions, and the ever-changing flow of life. But Buddhist teachings invite us to step beyond this binary thinking, showing us that life's contrasts don't need to be battled or balanced in the way we think they do. Instead, they can be embraced as natural expressions of life's flow. Buddhism encourages us to observe the impermanent nature of all things. Everything, whether it's our emotions, our successes, or our hardships, is in constant flux. We experience joy, but it will eventually fade into sadness or challenge. We achieve a goal, only to encounter a new one that requires effort. This constant shift is the nature of life, and when we stop resisting it, we begin to experience a profound freedom. Duality, the notion that there are opposites, is part of the human condition, but it doesn't define us. In embracing these opposites, without attaching labels of good or bad, we step into a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. The notion of balance often seems like an ideal we should be striving for. We seek to manage the tension between happiness and sadness, success and failure, comfort and discomfort. However, when we focus too much on achieving a perfect equilibrium, we can end up forcing an unnatural stability onto life. Trying to force balance, creates a subtle form of resistance. Instead of trying to impose balance, Buddhist teachings encourage us to embrace life's fluctuations naturally. Life will always move between highs and lows, and the more we accept this flow, the less strain we feel. When we resist the contrasts in life, we are often reacting from a place of fear or attachment. We fear the pain that comes with loss or failure, and we become attached to the moments of joy and success, hoping they will never end. However, this attachment creates suffering because we are constantly expecting life to stay in one state. The reality is that nothing stays the same. The more we resist this natural change, the more we struggle. But when we embrace life's inevitable contrasts, we stop fighting against what is. We begin to see that both joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain, are part of the same continuum, and we can experience peace in the midst of both. This is the true meaning of acceptance in Buddhist philosophy. Acceptance doesn't mean passively letting things happen to us, but rather acknowledging the reality of the moment without resistance. When we accept that life is full of both high and low points, we free ourselves from the desire to control or avoid certain experiences. Instead of pushing away discomfort or clinging to happiness, we allow them to coexist. Both are fleeting, and both are necessary for our growth. Embracing this truth allows us to move through life with more ease, because we are no longer in a constant struggle to keep things in one state. The practice of mindfulness supports this acceptance. Mindfulness invites us to experience each moment fully, without judgment. We observe life as it is, rather than trying to categorize it into good or bad. This practice helps us detach from our habitual reactions, like the tendency to avoid discomfort or chase after pleasure. Instead, mindfulness teaches us to be present with what is happening right now, accepting both the pleasant and the unpleasant aspects of our experience. When we do this, we see that both sides of the coin are just that, two sides of the same experience. Neither is more real or important than the other. They simply arise and pass away, and by observing them with mindfulness, we free ourselves from the weight of judgment and resistance. One of the key concepts in Buddhist thought is emptiness, which teaches us that nothing is inherently one way or another. Everything is in a constant state of change and is interdependent with other things. In this way, life's contrasts such as good and bad, joy and pain are not opposites at all, but simply different expressions of the same process. Emptiness teaches us that all things arise, exist for a time, and eventually fade away. This insight allows us to let go of the need to label life's experiences, realizing that they are all part of the same fluid process. Instead of trying to separate our experiences into neat categories, we allow them to simply be. This also ties into the Buddhist practice of non-attachment. When we are attached to the idea that certain experiences are good and others are bad, we create unnecessary tension. We struggle against what we don't want while desperately clinging to what we do. But when we let go of our attachments to outcomes, we stop resisting life's natural ebb and flow. We stop forcing balance between opposing forces and instead allow them to exist together. The more we practice non-attachment, the more we can experience life's contrasts without judgment or resistance. Compassion is another essential part of embracing duality. When we encounter others' pain or suffering, it's easy to feel the need to fix or change it because we don't want them to experience discomfort. But Buddhism teaches us that we cannot protect ourselves or others from life's contrasts. Everyone, including ourselves, must experience the full range of emotions and experiences. What we can offer is our presence and compassion, acknowledging the ups and downs of life without trying to interfere or make them go away. Compassion means sitting with others in their pain and joy, knowing that both are necessary for their journey. By embracing both aspects of life, we learn to live with greater acceptance and understanding. without the need to manipulate or control what is happening. As you continue to explore the nature of duality, you begin to notice that freedom comes not from achieving a perfect balance between opposites, but from understanding that both extremes are part of the same experience. The more you accept life's natural rhythm, the less you feel the need to push against its fluctuations. Instead of seeking to avoid discomfort or cling to comfort, you move through life with an openness to all experiences, knowing that each one has something valuable to teach. This is true freedom, the freedom to experience life fully, without the need to force balance or control outcomes. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the idea that everything is interconnected. Life's contrasts, while they may appear to be opposites, are interdependent. Without darkness, there can be no light. Without pain, there can be no joy. This interconnection is what allows us to embrace life's contrasts without struggling. We understand that all experiences are part of a larger whole, and that we are constantly moving between these different states as we evolve. Each moment, whether high or low, is part of the flow of life, and by accepting this, we are free from the need to categorize, label, or judge. In embracing life's dualities, we also cultivate a deeper sense of wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to see things as they truly are, without the distortion of judgment or attachment. It is the ability to understand that life's contrasts are not separate or opposing forces, but part of the same unfolding process. Wisdom allows us to navigate life's challenges with grace, knowing that both joy and sorrow are transient, and that each has its own value. By seeing life through this lens, we stop seeing dualities as threats or burdens and begin to see them as essential aspects of our human experience. As we let go of the need to force balance and allow life's contrasts to simply be, we find that peace arises naturally. Peace doesn't come from avoiding the ups and downs of life, but from accepting them as part of the natural order. When we embrace duality without judgment or resistance, we cultivate a deep sense of peace that transcends external circumstances. We stop trying to control life's flow and instead allow ourselves to move with it, trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This is the essence of the Buddhist path: to embrace life fully in all its highs and lows, its joy and pain, its successes and failures without resistance. By stepping beyond duality, we learn to live in harmony with the world around us, not fighting against it, but flowing with it. Through this acceptance, we free ourselves from the struggle and find a peace that transcends the dualities of life. As you begin to embrace life's natural flow, understanding the wisdom of duality and releasing the pressure of forcing balance, you may notice an even deeper truth emerging. A truth that shows up in every part of your life, in every relationship, and in every goal you set for yourself. It's the subtle yet powerful grip that expectations have on your mind. Expectations are woven into nearly every desire. We have the need for outcomes to match our hopes, dreams, and plans. But what if these very expectations, this constant striving for something specific, is the root cause of much of our suffering? Buddhism teaches us that expectations, when unchecked, set us up for disappointment. We live in a world of possibilities, yet we often hold tight to rigid ideas of how things should be. This leads us to a constant cycle of hoping for outcomes, attaching our happiness to them, and inevitably feeling let down when things don't turn out the way we imagined. Each time an expectation is unmet, it leaves us disillusioned, frustrated, or even angry. But the truth is, the problem isn't with life's unpredictability or the failures we experience, it's with our attachment to specific outcomes. When we stop clinging to these expectations, we begin to break free from the cycle of disappointment and open ourselves to a more liberated way of experiencing life. Expectations are built on the idea that control is possible. We set our sights on an outcome, a goal, or a desire, and we attach ourselves to it as if it will guarantee happiness. However, in doing so, we create an illusion of certainty in an uncertain world. We believe that if we can control the outcome, we can control our emotional state. Yet life is full of uncertainty and change, and no matter how much effort we put into forcing things to fit into our desired outcome, they may not align as we planned. The more we attach our happiness to these external outcomes, the more we find ourselves on a roller coaster of highs and lows, constantly battling with disappointment when things don't go the way we imagined. The Buddhist concept of non-attachment offers a powerful antidote to this cycle. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference, rather, it means engaging with life without clinging to specific results. It's the understanding that our happiness doesn't depend on whether or not things turn out the way we want them to. By letting go of the need for specific outcomes, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of disappointment. This doesn't mean we stop setting goals or making efforts. It means we release our attachment to the result, allowing ourselves to experience peace regardless of the outcome. The attachment to expectations often causes suffering because it places our emotional well-being in the hands of external factors. When we tie our happiness to specific events, people, or achievements, we set ourselves up for disappointment when those things don't meet our expectations. This is not to say that we shouldn't aim for meaningful goals or aspirations, but rather that we should approach them with a sense of openness and flexibility. We must learn to embrace life as it unfolds, without rigidly adhering to how we think things should be. When we stop clinging to the outcome, we find that the journey itself holds the true rewards. By embracing non-attachment to outcomes, we stop holding on to the narratives we've created about how our lives should look. These narratives, shaped by cultural ideals, personal desires, and external pressures, often cloud our perception of reality. When our expectations aren't met, we feel that reality has let us down, that we've been denied the happiness or success we deserve. However, this thinking creates unnecessary suffering. The key is to release the need for things to unfold in a certain way and accept them as they are. The moment we stop resisting, we create space for peace and acceptance, transforming the disappointment into an opportunity for growth and learning. Expectations often arise from a deep sense of lack, the feeling that we are not enough or that we need something outside of ourselves to complete us. This constant striving for fulfillment through external circumstances leads to disappointment because nothing external can provide lasting satisfaction. Buddhism teaches us that true happiness comes from within, and by letting go of the attachment to external outcomes, we reconnect with our inner peace. We stop looking for validation from the world around us and begin to find it in our own being. When we release our need for outcomes, we open ourselves to the present moment where true contentment lies. One of the most freeing aspects of releasing expectations is the ability to be present in the moment. When we let go of the need for things to turn out a specific way, we can engage with life as it is, without the constant mental chatter of wishing things were different. This presence brings clarity, peace, and an appreciation for what is happening right now, not for what we hope will happen. We begin to experience life more fully, appreciating the nuances of each moment without being weighed down by the pressure of future expectations. When we are constantly attached to expectations, we also limit ourselves by narrowing our vision of what is possible. We may become fixated on a specific goal or outcome, believing that it is the only path to happiness or success. This narrow focus prevents us from seeing the full range of possibilities that life has to offer. By letting go of rigid expectations, we open ourselves to new opportunities that we may not have considered, allowing life to surprise us in ways we could never have planned. In Buddhism, there is a strong emphasis on letting go of the need for control, not just over outcomes, but over other people and situations as well. When we expect others to behave in a certain way, or when we try to control their actions or decisions, we create tension and frustration. The more we try to control, the more resistance we build, and the more disappointed we become when things don't align with our expectations. Letting go of the need to control others is a powerful practice of non-attachment. It frees us from the burden of trying to shape the world around us and allows us to accept people as they are, without imposing our expectations upon them. Acceptance is the counterpart to non-attachment. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without trying to change or manipulate it. When we accept that life is unpredictable and that things don't always go according to plan, we stop fighting against what is. This acceptance reduces stress and disappointment because we no longer measure our happiness by external circumstances. Instead, we allow ourselves to flow with life, trusting that each moment is an opportunity for growth, even if it doesn't match our expectations. The key to breaking free from the cycle of disappointment is awareness. The awareness that our attachment to expectations is what causes our suffering. The more we are aware of the expectations we place on ourselves, others, and life itself, the more we can choose to let them go. Awareness allows us to recognize when we are attaching our happiness to an outcome, and it gives us the freedom to choose a different path. Instead of clinging to what we think should happen, we can engage with life fully, trusting that whatever unfolds is exactly what we need. Buddhism teaches that when we release our attachment to specific outcomes, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. Karma plays a crucial role in this process. By acting with pure intentions without expectation, we allow positive karma to unfold naturally. When we act from a place of non-attachment, we allow our actions to be guided by wisdom, compassion, and clarity, rather than by the need for a particular result. This creates a space for life to respond with grace, offering us the best possible outcomes without the strain of effort and control. It's also important to recognize that disappointment itself is not inherently negative. Disappointment arises when our expectations are unmet, but it's through this very disappointment that we learn, grow, and evolve. When we release the need for outcomes, we stop seeing disappointment as something to avoid or resist. Instead, we begin to see it as an opportunity for reflection and learning. Disappointment becomes a teacher, showing us where our attachment lies and guiding us toward greater acceptance and peace. Breaking free from the cycle of disappointment doesn't mean abandoning your dreams or goals. It means approaching them with openness and flexibility. When we stop tying our happiness to a specific result, we open ourselves to the possibility that something even better might unfold. Non-attachment frees us from the anxiety of needing things to go a certain way and allows us to embrace life's surprises, knowing that whatever happens, we can handle it with grace and equanimity. Ultimately, the more we practice non-attachment, the more we experience freedom. Freedom from the pressure of expectations, freedom from the need to control outcomes, and freedom from the constant cycle of striving for something that may never come. When we release the need for specific results, we can approach life with a sense of ease, knowing that everything will unfold as it should. This freedom brings us closer to our true selves, allowing us to live fully in the present moment, free from the weight of disappointment and unfulfilled expectations. As you begin to let go of rigid expectations and the constant pressure to control outcomes, you might start to notice a shift in your mind, an internal peace that feels rare in today's world. The more you embrace the flow of life, free from the mental strain of attachment and frustration, the more you begin to sense an underlying stillness. It's a quiet space that holds within it the potential to dissolve the tension that often leads to conflict in our thoughts, emotions, and actions. To cultivate this peace more fully, there is a powerful tool that the Buddha shared with us: meditation. Meditation is not just a practice, it's a profound journey that, when embraced fully, can transform the very way we live and experience the world. Buddhist meditation offers a unique path to inner peace by helping us release mental conflict and inner tension. We often carry so much weight within us, thoughts of worry, resentment, or fear, that it becomes difficult to experience life with ease. Our minds race, our emotions fluctuate, and we become consumed by the noise of it all. In these moments, we struggle to find clarity or a sense of direction. Yet, meditation serves as a practice that allows us to let go of this clutter, creating the space necessary for mental clarity and emotional calm. When you begin to meditate, you learn to separate yourself from the chatter of the mind, recognizing that you are not your thoughts. In this process, you start to notice how much of your internal conflict is rooted in identifying with your thoughts, feelings, and desires. Meditation allows you to witness them rather than become entangled in them. As you sit quietly, focusing on your breath, you create the space to observe the thoughts and emotions that arise without judgment. This practice of observation reduces the power that these thoughts hold over you, allowing them to come and go like clouds in the sky. The more you do this, the less mental conflict you experience, and the more you can live in alignment with your true self. Buddhist meditation also helps us release attachment to the constant demands of the mind. We often think that, in order to find peace, we need to fix our thoughts, emotions, or circumstances. But meditation teaches us that peace isn't something to achieve or fix, it is something that arises when we stop resisting. When we stop forcing the mind to behave a certain way, we allow it to settle naturally. This process of letting go is at the heart of meditation. The more we try to control, the more resistance we create. But when we sit in stillness and let go of the need to control, we create a natural flow that leads to ease. One of the most profound teachings that meditation brings is the ability to experience the present moment without the weight of past regrets or future worries. We often feel trapped by the mental narrative that loops endlessly in our minds. We replay old conversations, rehash past mistakes, or constantly plan for what's next. This ongoing cycle of thinking creates a sense of mental overload, leaving us exhausted and disconnected from the now. Meditation helps break this cycle by gently guiding us back to the present moment. With each breath, we train the mind to focus on the here and now, allowing us to experience life more fully. In doing so, we release the grip of mental conflict and invite a deeper sense of peace and presence into our lives. At first, this may feel challenging. Our minds are so used to grasping for thoughts or planning for the future. But meditation teaches us that we don't need to grasp at anything. We don't need to control what arises in the mind. We simply allow it to come and go. The more you practice this, the more you begin to see that thoughts are temporary. They do not define you. They come and go like waves on the ocean. The more you let them flow without attaching meaning or judgment to them, the more you find your mind naturally settling into a state of ease. This practice is not just about reducing mental conflict, it's about transforming your relationship with your thoughts. Instead of seeing them as obstacles to peace, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth. In Buddhism, there is a concept called mindful awareness. This is the practice of being fully aware of the present moment without judgment, without expectation. It's not about getting rid of thoughts, but about accepting them as they are. This awareness transforms your relationship with your mind, allowing you to experience your thoughts as they are impermanent and transient. The more you practice, the less weight they carry, and the more easily you can move through life without becoming overwhelmed by them. As you meditate, you also begin to notice how internal tension manifests in your body. When we experience stress, anger, or fear, we often hold these emotions in the body, creating physical tension. Over time, this tension builds up, leading to discomfort, pain, or even illness. Through mindfulness and meditation, we learn to recognize how these emotions show up physically and how to release them. By focusing on the breath and bringing awareness to the body, we can soften the physical tension, releasing it with each exhale. This process of letting go of tension helps us feel lighter, more at ease, and more in tune with our bodies. Meditation, in this sense, is not just about quieting the mind, but about holistically relieving the tension in both mind and body. The more you practice meditation, the more you realize that mental conflict and stress arise from attachment to the way things should be, to desires, expectations, and the need to control. Meditation teaches us to release this attachment. Instead of forcing our thoughts or emotions to align with our ideal version of reality, we learn to be present with whatever arises. This process of non-attachment is incredibly liberating. It helps us stop fighting with ourselves and the world around us, freeing us from the mental strain of trying to make everything fit into a preconceived notion of how things should be. Buddhist meditation also helps us develop a deeper compassion for ourselves. So often, we are our harshest critics. We judge ourselves for not being good enough or for not living up to our own expectations. Meditation allows us to step back from these judgments and to simply be with ourselves as we are. In this space, we cultivate self-compassion, a gentle acceptance of ourselves, with all of our flaws, fears, and imperfections. This self-compassion naturally spreads to others, allowing us to approach the world with a sense of kindness and understanding, free from the inner conflict that often leads to judgment or resentment. Through meditation, we also develop a stronger sense of equanimity. Life's ups and downs no longer feel as destabilizing because we learn to approach them with the same sense of calm and acceptance. Whether experiencing joy or sorrow, success or failure, we come to understand that all of these emotions are part of the same flow of life. By practicing meditation, we strengthen our ability to remain steady, no matter what life throws our way. We learn to respond with wisdom and clarity, rather than reacting with impulsive emotions. This sense of equanimity allows us to experience life's fluctuations with more peace, rather than feeling at the mercy of them. In addition to creating mental clarity, meditation also nurtures a deep sense of gratitude. The more we become aware of the present moment, the more we begin to appreciate the simplicity and beauty that exists all around us. We learn to see the richness of life, even in the most ordinary moments. Gratitude becomes a natural byproduct of mindfulness, and this gratitude nurtures a sense of contentment and joy that comes not from external achievements, but from simply being alive and present in the moment. As meditation deepens, we also begin to experience a greater connection to others. The more we cultivate peace within ourselves, the more that peace radiates outward. We stop seeing others as obstacles, competitors, or sources of frustration. Instead, we see them as fellow beings on a shared journey. This shift in perspective fosters greater compassion, patience, and understanding. We begin to approach our relationships with more openness, kindness, and authenticity, allowing us to build deeper, more meaningful connections. Ultimately, the practice of meditation teaches us to live with ease. We stop resisting the flow of life, stop fighting against ourselves and others, and stop struggling to make things fit our expectations. Instead, we learn to embrace life as it is, with all its uncertainties and challenges. Meditation is the tool that helps us align with the natural rhythm of life, cultivating a sense of calm, clarity, and peace within. The more we practice, the more we let go of inner conflict and mental tension, allowing us to experience the full depth of life's beauty and simplicity. With meditation, we learn to live not only with more ease but with more grace, navigating life's challenges with a heart open to whatever arises. As you begin to explore the transformative power of meditation, releasing inner conflict and embracing the natural flow of life, you may begin to notice something profound: silence. In our daily lives, we are constantly bombarded by noise, both external and internal. We live in a world that values constant action, constant communication, and constant doing. Yet, as you deepen your practice and experience the peace that comes with letting go of mental tension, you might realize that it's in silence, both external and internal, that true clarity and insight arise. Silence has a hidden power, one that can transform the way we live, think, and engage with the world around us. The world outside is noisy, people are talking, devices are buzzing, and distractions are everywhere. But the noise inside us is often louder. Our minds race with thoughts, worries, desires, and judgments, constantly pulling us away from the present moment. In the midst of all this chaos, it's easy to lose touch with the clarity and wisdom that reside within us. But silence, when cultivated both in our surroundings and in our minds, creates the space needed for those deeper truths to emerge. Buddhism teaches us that silence isn't simply the absence of sound. It's the presence of something far more powerful: stillness. Stillness is not passive. It is an active engagement with the present moment, a space where we can listen deeply to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. In the stillness, we find the clarity we need to make decisions, to navigate challenges, and to connect with our inner wisdom. In the quiet moments, free from the constant buzz of thoughts and distractions, we experience life as it truly is, without the filter of judgments or expectations. Silence, however, is not something we are often comfortable with. We live in a society that constantly pushes us to be busy, to do more, to speak louder, and to fill every gap with activity. Silence feels uncomfortable, almost unnatural, because we have been conditioned to believe that doing is the path to success, to meaning, and to fulfillment. But in the practice of silence, we begin to see that the opposite is true. It is in the absence of noise that we find the room to hear the wisdom of our own hearts and minds. Silence creates space for us to stop doing and simply be. In this being, we begin to connect more deeply with our inner selves, with others, and with the flow of life itself. The power of silence is deeply connected to the concept of non-attachment. Just as we let go of the need to control outcomes and release expectations, we also learn to release our attachment to the constant noise of the world. We stop clinging to the idea that we must always be doing something or talking about something in order to be valuable. Silence teaches us that we don't have to prove our worth through activity or words. Our value lies in simply being, in being present with ourselves and the world, without the need for constant stimulation. In silence, we allow our natural flow of thoughts, emotions, and experiences to arise, without forcing them to conform to external expectations. It's through this practice of silence that we can start to experience the true power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is often practiced through quiet, focused attention on the breath, on the sensations in the body, on the thoughts that arise and pass. The more we engage in silence, the more we become attuned to the present moment. In that moment of awareness, we gain access to clarity that cannot be found when we are constantly distracted by noise or mental chatter. In silence, we allow ourselves to observe without judgment, to witness what is arising within and around us without getting caught up in it. This type of mindfulness brings about a deeper understanding of our true nature, free from the distortions of external noise or internal distractions. In addition to mental clarity, silence fosters inner peace. When we create space for silence in our lives, we begin to experience a sense of calm that is not dependent on external circumstances. The noise of the world, the demands of others, and the constant pull of our own thoughts begin to lose their power over us. As we cultivate silence, we begin to experience a sense of stillness that permeates our being. This stillness is not a void or emptiness, but a deep sense of connection to the present moment, a sense of being grounded and centered no matter what is happening around us. It is from this stillness that we can navigate life's challenges with grace, responding to them with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting out of fear or stress. Silence also brings about a deep connection to the natural flow of life. We often become disconnected from life's natural rhythms because we are constantly caught in the noise of our own minds and the external world. But when we practice silence, we begin to attune ourselves to the ebb and flow of life as it naturally unfolds. This connection to the flow of life brings us greater acceptance of life's fluctuations, joy and sorrow, success and failure, pleasure and pain, understanding that all are temporary and part of the same cycle. In silence, we learn to flow with life's rhythms rather than forcing them to align with our desires or expectations. This acceptance of life as it is, without resistance, brings us greater peace and ease. Silence also provides the mental space needed for reflection. In the quiet moments, free from distractions, we can look inward and reflect on our thoughts, actions, and experiences. Reflection is a key aspect of Buddhist practice, as it allows us to gain insight into our own behavior and patterns. In silence, we can observe our thoughts without judgment, without trying to change them, but simply to understand them. Through this understanding, we gain insight into our true nature, our fears, our desires, and our habits. This insight allows us to make more conscious choices and break free from the mental patterns that limit us. Another powerful aspect of silence is its ability to foster compassion. When we are quiet and still, we become more present with others. We listen more deeply, not just to their words, but to the energy and emotions behind their words. In the stillness of silence, we can feel more attuned to the needs of others, offering empathy and understanding without the need to fill the space with our own thoughts or opinions. Silence allows us to be fully present, offering a kind of attention that is rare in a world where people are often preoccupied with their own thoughts. Through silence, we begin to connect with others in a more meaningful way, fostering deeper relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. Silence is also a gateway to inner transformation. When we stop filling our lives with noise and distraction, we begin to peel back the layers that obscure our true selves. In the stillness, we begin to confront the parts of ourselves that we have long ignored or suppressed. The mind can be filled with fears, regrets, and desires that prevent us from fully embracing who we are. But in silence, we are no longer able to distract ourselves from these inner struggles. Instead, we face them directly, with compassion and understanding. This confrontation with our inner world, though challenging, is a vital step toward healing and transformation. The more we sit with ourselves in silence, the more we uncover the wisdom, strength, and peace that resides within us. The power of silence also helps us to release emotional baggage. We often carry emotional wounds from the past, holding on to pain, resentment, or anger. These emotions create inner conflict, preventing us from experiencing peace. But when we sit in silence, we create space to process and release these emotions. Silence allows us to feel our emotions fully without being overwhelmed by them. Through mindfulness in silence, we can acknowledge these emotions without judgment, allowing them to arise and pass without clinging to them. This release of emotional tension allows us to move forward with a lighter heart, free from the weight of unresolved feelings. Lastly, the practice of silence nurtures our ability to embrace the unknown. The mind often seeks certainty, wanting to know exactly what will happen next, wanting to control life's unfolding. But in silence, we allow ourselves to sit with uncertainty. We let go of the need for constant answers, and instead, we embrace the mystery of life. This acceptance of the unknown frees us from anxiety and worry, allowing us to move forward with a sense of trust and openness. Silence teaches us that we don't need to know everything. We simply need to trust that life will reveal itself in due time, and we are fully capable of navigating whatever comes our way. In embracing silence, we open ourselves to greater wisdom, peace, and clarity. It is through the stillness that we can connect to our deepest truth, break free from the noise that holds us back, and experience life with more ease and understanding. By making space for silence in our lives, we cultivate a more mindful, compassionate, and centered way of being. In this silence, we find the key to living with true clarity and grace, free from the distractions that keep us from experiencing life fully. As you begin to embrace silence and the power of stillness, you may start to realize that true peace does not come from struggle or force. In our world, we are often taught that success and enlightenment require relentless effort, constant striving, constant doing, but Buddhism offers a radically different perspective. Peace is not achieved through struggle, but through acceptance and understanding. This approach reveals that the more we try to force our way to peace, the further we move from it. Instead, it is in letting go of the constant battle and surrendering to life as it is that we can truly find the path to enlightenment. Buddhism teaches that enlightenment is not a destination, but a state of being that arises naturally when we stop resisting life. It is not attained through forceful effort, but through the cultivation of mindfulness, compassion, and non-resistance. In a world that values achievement and effort above all else, it can be difficult to understand that true peace comes not from pushing forward, but from stepping back and allowing life to unfold as it is. By releasing the need to control, we create space for peace to enter our lives. The idea of a non-forceful path to enlightenment challenges much of what we have been conditioned to believe. We often think that in order to be successful, we must push ourselves beyond our limits, overcome obstacles through sheer willpower, and achieve constantly. But Buddhism reveals that true power lies not in control, but in the willingness to surrender to what is. Struggling against life's natural flow only creates more resistance and suffering. Instead, enlightenment is about accepting life's impermanence, embracing both joy and sorrow, success and failure as part of the same process. The more we resist, the more we struggle, and the more we distance ourselves from the peace that lies within. The Buddhist path encourages us to recognize that life is constantly changing and that we cannot force things to be a certain way. Acceptance of this truth is the key to releasing inner conflict and external struggle. When we resist the flow of life, we create tension both within ourselves and in our interactions with the world. But when we accept life as it is, without judgment or attachment, we begin to experience the deep peace that comes from understanding that all things are temporary and ever-changing. Rather than forcing outcomes, the Buddhist approach emphasizes the practice of mindful awareness. This is the art of being fully present with whatever arises, without judgment, without the need to change it. When we practice mindfulness, we stop struggling to control our thoughts, emotions, or external circumstances. Instead, we allow ourselves to observe life as it is, without resistance. This simple shift from force to acceptance helps us release the internal tension that often prevents us from seeing things clearly. By accepting whatever arises, we can respond with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting out of fear, frustration, or attachment. Non-resistance is not about passivity. It is about active participation in life from a place of calm and clarity. It's about stepping into life without trying to force or control outcomes. Buddhism teaches that we are always in the midst of change, and that resisting change only leads to suffering. When we embrace life's changes, whether they bring pleasure or pain without trying to control them, we experience peace. Non-resistance allows us to flow with the changing currents of life rather than fighting against them. The idea of a non-forceful path to enlightenment also invites us to question the way we relate to our own desires and goals. We often think that in order to achieve something, we must constantly chase after it, striving and pushing ourselves to the limit. But Buddhism reveals that desire, when unchecked, can lead to suffering. The more we chase after something with force, the more we attach our happiness to a particular outcome, which only creates frustration when things don't go as planned. Instead, Buddhism teaches that we can achieve our goals, but not by force. Rather, by acting with intention, by focusing on the present moment, and by aligning ourselves with the flow of life, we can move toward our goals without the need for struggle. When we practice non-resistance, we learn to embrace life's paradoxes, the contradictions that exist within ourselves and the world around us. Life is full of opposites, light and dark, joy and sorrow, success and failure. In the Western world, we often view these as opposites that need to be reconciled or eliminated. But in Buddhism, we understand that these contrasts are part of the same process. We cannot have light without darkness, nor joy without sorrow. Life is a dynamic balance of these forces, and when we stop struggling to make everything fit neatly into one category or the other, we free ourselves from the burden of trying to force balance. Instead, we begin to embrace life's natural rhythms, finding peace in the ebb and flow. One of the most profound lessons of the Buddhist path is the practice of equanimity. Equanimity is the ability to remain balanced and composed no matter what life throws at you. It's the ability to accept both the highs and the lows of life without becoming attached to either. Equanimity doesn't mean detaching from life or emotions, it means experiencing them fully without getting swept away by them. When we practice equanimity, we stop struggling to control our reactions to life's ups and downs. Instead, we allow ourselves to feel deeply, but we don't become overwhelmed by those feelings. We learn to respond with clarity and compassion, no matter the situation. Enlightenment, in the Buddhist view, is the ability to let go of attachment to both the highs and the lows of life. We often cling to moments of joy and success, hoping they will last forever. But when we are attached to the good, we also set ourselves up for disappointment when things change. Similarly, when we resist the painful moments, we create more suffering. Instead, Buddhism teaches that we can embrace all of life's experiences, both the highs and the lows, without attachment. We can experience joy without clinging to it, and pain without resisting it. In doing so, we find peace and liberation. Surrender plays a significant role in the Buddhist path. It's the act of letting go of the need to control and instead trusting in the process of life. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means releasing the need to push, to manipulate, and to force things to happen. It's about trusting that life will unfold in its own time and that everything we need is already available to us. Surrendering to life's process requires patience, but it also brings peace. By surrendering to life, we are freed from the constant strain of trying to control the uncontrollable. Through this practice of non-resistance, we begin to experience a deep sense of trust in life itself. Trusting life doesn't mean we stop making efforts or setting goals. It means we stop expecting that things will unfold according to our specific desires. Instead, we trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This trust in the process of life brings ease and acceptance, knowing that whatever happens, we can handle it with grace. The path to enlightenment in Buddhism is not about pushing forward with sheer willpower or force. It is about letting go of the need to struggle, accepting life as it is, and responding with wisdom, clarity, and compassion. The more we practice non-resistance, the more we align ourselves with the natural flow of life, and the more we experience peace. Through acceptance, patience, and trust, we move closer to the wisdom and freedom that comes from embracing life's ups and downs without forcing balance. This is the non-forceful path of enlightenment, a path that leads not through struggle, but through acceptance and understanding. As we've explored throughout this journey, the key to living a life of peace, clarity, and true happiness lies not in force or constant struggle, but in surrendering to the natural flow of life. When we stop forcing, when we let go of rigid expectations and release the need to control every outcome, we make space for life to unfold effortlessly. Through Buddhist wisdom, we've learned that patience, trust, and acceptance aren't passive states. They are active practices that guide us toward a life of ease. Whether through meditation, embracing silence, or understanding the law of impermanence, every step we take towards non-resistance brings us closer to the freedom we seek. Life isn't something to be conquered, it's something to be experienced. And when we stop forcing, when we allow ourselves to flow with the rhythm of life, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. It's in the quiet moments of stillness, in the letting go of expectations, and in the embrace of life's natural contrasts that we truly find our place in the world. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How have you experienced moments of letting go and trusting life's flow? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your reflections and any insights you've gained from this journey. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more wisdom on how to live a life of ease, balance, and true fulfillment. Turn on the notifications so you never miss a transformative moment. Let's continue to explore the path of peace together.